Chapter 503. Help me buy golden fiend crystals and demon bone ash. Dongbo Shuang said, for the time being I need 38 golden fiend crystals. The 100 million spirit crystals I gave you should be enough. As for demon bone ash, you can go look for it first. If I get any news, I'll personally go and talk to him. Yes, Shi Wei said with a smile. When she followed Holy Master Crimson Dust, she had to stay in Crimson Rock Mountain for a long time. She was truly stifled. Back when they were at Crimson Rock Mountain, Shi Wei's main body had already given her 100 million divinity crystals. Dongbo Shuang nodded. The golden fiend crystals and demon bone ash were rare treasures that he needed to cultivate the luminous sun. His teacher had only given him the treasures needed to cultivate the first 2 chapters, and he needed to prepare the 3rd to 6th chapters by himself. As for the 3rd chapter, he needed 38 golden fiend crystals and 4 kilograms of demon bone ash. Although the golden fiend crystal was precious, it could not be compared to demon bone ash. Half a kilogram of demon bone ash was worth more than 50 million divinity crystals. Of course, as the Lord of Crimson Rock Mountain he could afford it. But the main reason was that it was too rare. 100 million divinity crystals right off the bat. TSK. The thick-robed youth Gubai grinned. I've lived for so many years, but I've never seen 100 million divinity crystals before. Dongbo Shuang smiled and said, Senior brother Gubai, why don't I give you 100 million god crystals, and you'll be in charge of purchasing them? No. I still have to study the formation. Gubai shook his head. You don't want to do it, yet you're complaining. He Feiyun curled her lips. You're willing to go shopping? Gubai teased. He Feiyun snorted. The 2 senior martial brothers were very close friends, so it was normal for them to undermine each other. Seeing this, Dongbo Shuang asked, Senior martial brother Gubai, Senior martial brother Feiyun, I'm afraid that the people I'm recruiting for my personal guards will be mixed with the honest folks. As for those universe gods who have come to seek shelter, I will need the 2 of you to keep an eye on them and investigate them. Leave it to us, Gubai smiled. How many world deities would come to seek shelter? This matter was very simple. Are the 2 senior brothers willing to become the personal guard commanders? Dongbo Shuang asked. Second senior brother wants to meditate on the formation. I don't like to be tied down, the scarlet-cloaked youth He Feiyun said. The 2 of us can be idle guests. Gubai also nodded. Sure. Dongbo Shuang did not insist. The residence of the supervisor envoy was huge. Every soldier had to be equipped with a cave dwelling. The cave dwellings of the world deities were even bigger. In the mansion there was a vast lake. Dongbo Shuang was standing beside the railing, looking down at the vast lake below. There were some strange beasts swimming in the lake. Father, it's very lively outside. Aren't you going to take a look? A figure flew over from afar. In an instant, it arced through the air and landed beside the railing. It was the handsome blue-robed Dongboyu. Dongboyu had inherited the advantages of Dongbo Shuang and Jingqiu. In terms of appearance he was even better than Dongbo Shuang. It's very lively? Dongbo Shuang asked with a smile. They're all here to seek shelter. They want to become the personal guard. Dongboyu's eyes lit up. He exclaimed, the personal guard is a 2nd-grade legion. The lowest-ranked soldier is at the 10th rank, and the treatment they receive is comparable to the commanders of ordinary 3rd-grade legions. Dongbo Shuang nodded. In terms of rank, the highest-ranked commander of a 3rd-grade legion, the general of a legion, would usually be at the 10th or 9th rank. However, the general had more authority. In a 2nd-grade legion, the lowest-ranked soldier would be at the 10th rank. From this, one could see how big the difference in rank was. The main reason was that the difference in strength was also huge. A 1,000-man squad of a 3rd-grade legion could deal with a Stage 1 world deity, but a 1,000-man squad of a 2nd-grade legion could deal with a Stage 3 world deity. The difference in strength naturally determined their status. Are there any world deities coming? Dongbo Shuang asked. There are already more than 10 Stage 1 world deities, and even a Stage 2 world deity has come to seek shelter, Dongboyu replied. Dongbo Shuang was somewhat surprised. Today was the first day of recruitment, and the news had yet to spread, but there were already Stage 2 world deities coming to seek shelter. The results were better than he had expected. A figure flew over from afar. It was a gray-robed world deity. He bowed respectfully, reporting to Your Highness, General Mo and world deity Ying have come to visit. This gray-robed man was one of the original subordinates of the supervisor envoy. One must know that the personal guard was considered a private army. Regardless of what position Dongbo Shuang held, the personal guard would always follow him. As for the supervisor envoy's mansion, the supervisory army was stationed here. The supervisory army was relatively small, with only 1,000 people. However, it was still a second-grade army. It was more than sufficient to be in charge of the supervisory army. World deity Ying? Which world deity Ying? Dongbo Shuang asked. It's the elder brother of the venomous Ying world deity, His Majesty's personal guard, world deity Ying Gu Liang, the gray-robed world deity replied. Dongbo Shuang smiled. Have them wait in the side hall. I'll be right there. Yes. The gray-robed man respectfully left. Father, the elder brother of the venomous Ying world deity has come? Are they here to apologize? Dongbo Shui Ying's jade eyes lit up. We can't let them off just like that. They didn't give you any way out back then. Now that they know to apologize, it's too late. Dongbo Shuang waved his hand. Don't get involved. Go do your own things. You haven't even reached the peak of the deity realm. If I were you, I would have long since gone into closed-door cultivation. Dongbo Shuang chuckled. Father, do you think anyone can be like you, becoming a stage 2 world deity within 5,000 years? Becoming a stage 1 world deity within 10,000 years would allow one to become a personal disciple of a powerful existence. I feel that I'm almost at the peak of the deity realm. I'll work hard now and become a world deity within 1,000,000 years. Go. Work hard. Dongbo Shuang shook his head. His son and daughter were carefree and carefree. His son was carefree and carefree. His daughter's initiative was even stronger. Still, Dongbo Shuang did not force them. He would just let nature take its course. Within the guest hall. As Dongbo Shuang stepped into the hall, the two people seated behind the table stood up. They were General Mo and the silver-robed world deity Ying. This world deity Ying had a strange pattern on his face. With a slight smile, one could tell that he was an easy person to talk to. He gave off a completely different feeling from his sister, the venomous Ying world deity. The venomous Ying world deity was much more vicious. Greetings, Your Highness. World deity Ying Gu Liang bowed. Your Highness, this is world deity Ying. He knows about the matter between you and the venomous Ying world deity. It wasn't appropriate for him to attend yesterday's banquet, so he came early this morning, General Mo said. He still had to give face to world deity Ying Gu Liang. In truth, the reason why the venomous Ying world deity was able to do so well was because of her elder brother. World deity Ying Gu Liang, I've heard of you back in Crimson Stone Courtyard. Dongbo Shuang smiled. Please take a seat. He then walked to the table and sat down. Ying Gu Liang also sat down and said, I've come here to apologize to Your Highness. That sister of mine is too vicious and insolent. I've also asked about the matter that day. My son was indeed excessive, but his true deity heart was on the verge of collapsing and he went mad. Now, his true deity heart has collapsed and he has died. There's no point in blaming him. If you want to blame someone, blame me, blame my sister for not being able to control my son properly. When he started going mad, I should have never allowed him to go out again. Dongbo Shuang listened. This Ying Gu Liang seemed to be quite reasonable. Indeed, General Ying had already reached such a stage, yet the venomous Ying world deity had still allowed him to go out. Wasn't that the same as disregarding the lives of others? If he were to casually kill someone, who would those who died unjustly complain to? Back when he was being forced, the venomous Ying world deity had acted in an even more tyrannical manner. She was bullying Dongbo Shuang for being weak. Chapter 504. Today was the second night watch. In this matter, my sister has made a grave mistake. It is all our fault, Ying Gu Liang said. Even if you really wanted to deal with her, I would feel that it was only natural. But I am still her elder brother, and I cannot just watch as everything unfolded. Furthermore, Brother White Sand acted in time and did not cause any terrible consequences. Thus I hope to have some leeway. As Shuang listened, he frowned and coldly said, Nothing too terrible? If not for my elder brother, the White Sand City Lord Humph, we would have fought to the death. Ying Gu Liang was startled. Right. Thank you, Brother White Sand. This time, I have come with sincerity to make amends and resolve this grudge. If Your Highness has any conditions, please state them. You want me to state my conditions? Dongbo Shuang said coldly. Fine. Don't say that I did not give venomous Ying a chance. Please speak, Your Highness. Ying Gu Liang heaved a sigh of relief. As long as he could state his conditions, it would be easier to negotiate. I have 2 conditions, Dongbo Shuang said directly. First, give me 10 kilograms of demon bone ash. The moment he said this, Ying Gu Liang's expression changed. General Mo even muttered inwardly. Good fellow. Truly ruthless. 1 kilogram of demon bone ash was worth at least 50 million deity crystals. 10 kilograms would be a billion deity crystals. Neither General Mo nor Ying Liang could produce such a sum, not to mention that demon bone ash was extremely difficult to purchase. 2. Make the venomous Ying world deity kneel in front of my supervisor envoy residence for 10,000 years, Shuang said. If you can do this, then this enmity will be settled. Don't say that I did not give you a chance. Now that I have given you a chance, it all depends on whether venomous Ying can do it. This, Ying Liang smiled bitterly. This condition is as good as not saying anything. 10 kilograms of demon bone ash. Let alone me and my sister, even stage 4 world deities would suffer greatly. As for making my sister kneel for 10,000 years, with her temper, even if you killed her, she would not. She has a temper? Dongbo Shuang sneered. Didn't you come to make amends? What was the point of having a temper when making amends? I can give you 10 kilograms of demon bone ash within 10,000 years, but your sister, the venomous Ying world deity, must kneel outside my supervisor envoy residence within 3 days. If she doesn't kneel down in 3 days, then there's no need to talk. Send the guest off. Dongbo Shuang stood up immediately. The guards outside immediately came in and looked at General Mo and Ying Liang. Ying Liang and General Mo exchanged a glance. Can't the conditions be lower? Ying Liang asked. Dongbo Shuang frowned. The 2 guards beside him immediately said, "This way please." "Let's go," General Mo also said. Ying Liang walked out helplessly. General Mo turned to Dongbo Shuang and transmitted a message to him. Your Highness, it is unlikely that the venomous Ying world deity will agree to these conditions. 10 kilograms of demon bone ash is something they cannot afford, and I'm afraid they won't be able to buy it. I've already raised the conditions. It's up to them now. Dongbo Shuang said calmly. The nest of myriad devils. This was a huge mountain floating in the starry sky. Black fog roiled around the mountain, and countless venomous snakes coiled around it. This was a famous location within the Calm Sea Prefecture, the lair of the venomous Ying world deity. The venomous Ying world deity was extremely famous within the Calm Sea Prefecture. Other than her brother's support, she was also extremely proficient in hexing poisons. She could be said to be the strongest expert in the entire Calm Sea Prefecture. Dream on. Dream on. He wants me to kneel in front of his residence for 10,000 years? Who does he think he is? I've cultivated for so many years to become a stage 3 world deity, but I don't want to kneel in front of him. Even if he kills me, I won't be able to do it. The venomous Ying world deity's huge tail coiled around the huge palace hall. Her eyes were filled with rage. 10 kilograms of demon bone ash? What does he think demon bone ash is? Bones that can be found by the roadside? Not to mention 10 caddies of demon bone ash, even half a caddy of demon bone ash was impossible. How is he raising conditions? He's humiliating me and you. Her voice reverberated within the hall, causing it to tremble. Not a single guard dared to be here. 10 kilograms of demon bone ash? Even if the 2 of us sold off all our treasures, we still wouldn't be able to afford it. Ying Liang shook his head. His Highness Dongbo is really too much of a bully. He's not giving us any leeway at all. Even if he wants me to kneel for 10,000 years, I won't do it. The venomous Ying world deity's eyes were filled with madness. Very well. Since he's forcing me like this, then let's just watch and see who will be the victor. Little sister. Ying Liang wanted to persuade her. Don't try to persuade me. It's pointless. The venomous Ying world deity sneered. I do want to see just how powerful that Dongbo Shuang is. He's just a stage 2 world deity, yet he dares to be so arrogant? He'll most likely become a stage 4 world deity within 1,000,000 years. Ying Liang sighed. But if he doesn't give me a path to walk, what can I do? The venomous Ying world deity angrily retorted. She then sneered. He's not even a stage 4 world deity yet. He's not even a stage 3 world deity. The news spread like wildfire. It was unknown whether it came from the supervisor envoy residence or General Mo's Eastern Blaze Army. In any case, everyone knew that His Highness Dongbo had given the venomous Ying world deity 10 kilograms of demon bone ash and that she would kneel in front of the supervisor envoy residence for 10,000 years. Furthermore, she had to do so within 3 days. Time passed day by day. All the superpowers of the Calm Sea Prefecture Eastern region were paying close attention to this matter. Even the superpowers of the other regions were paying attention to it. After all, both Dongbo Shuang and the venomous Ying world deity were extremely famous in the Calm Sea Prefecture. 3 days have passed. The venomous Ying world deity has yet to appear. Let's see how His Highness Dongbo plans to deal with the venomous Ying world deity. The way I see it, the fact that the venomous Ying world deity has lived for so long means that she's no fool. His Highness Dongbo might have great potential, but his current combat power is only SOSO. I'm afraid that he really won't be able to deal with the venomous Ying. Let's wait and see. I believe that with His Highness Dongbo's temperament, he'll make his move very soon. All the superpowers were paying close attention to the Supervisor Envoy residence. The Supervisor Envoy residence had always been recruiting, and his personal guards had long since been filled up. After all, while world deities were rare, there were countless peak deities. Even now, he was still recruiting Stage 1 and Stage 2 world deities. Time passed day by day. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. However, there was still no movement from the Supervisor Envoy residence. Many of the superpowers who were paying close attention to the matter felt puzzled. Even the venomous Ying world deity, who had been waiting anxiously, was puzzled. This Dongbo Shuang. It's been a month since he said those fierce words, yet there's still no movement from him? And here I thought he would have some tricks up his sleeves. Big brother. Dongbo Shuang took the initiative to come to the Supervisor Envoy residence's entrance to welcome him. At the entrance was a chubby man dressed in white robes. He was currently stroking his beard, and upon seeing Dongbo Shuang, his small eyes lit up. He laughed. Brother Dongbo, I've long known that Brother Dongbo's future is boundless, but I never imagined that you would actually be accepted as a personal disciple by Master, a Stage 2 world deity who has lived for 5,000 years. TSK, even I was shocked when I heard this news. Big brother, hurry up and come in. There's no need to report your arrival. Just send me a message, Dongbo Shuang hurriedly said. The White Sand City Lord walked in with a chuckle. His gaze swept across the surroundings. Soldiers could be seen everywhere in the Supervisor Envoy residence, and these green-armored soldiers all had powerful auras. As of now, you have 1,000 members of the Supervisor Army and 4,000 personal guards under you. These personal guards are a level stronger than the ordinary soldiers of a second-grade legion. 4,000 personal guards are comparable to 10,000 soldiers of an ordinary second-grade legion. Amazing, amazing. In the entire Kamsi prefecture, only the personal guards of the prefecture master are slightly stronger than you. It's all because of Master's kindness. Dongbo Shuang laughed. The two chatted as they walked. Dongbo, you previously said those words to force the venomous Ying world deity to lower her head. However, the venomous Ying world deity did not pay any attention to you. Right now, it's not just the eastern region of the Kamsi prefecture. The entire Kamsi prefecture is paying attention to this matter. The White Sand City Lord laughed. If there's anything you need my help with, feel free to say it. I've long since found that venomous Ying an eyesore. Chapter 505. Today was the third night watch. Dongbo Shuang hurriedly said, No rush, no rush. Big brother, I've already decided on how to deal with venomous Ying. The reason why I'm not in a rush is because the time isn't ripe yet. Thousands of years have passed, so I'm still patient for a few months. Seeing this, the White Sand City Lord stroked his beard and chuckled. Since you've already planned it out, that's good. If you need me to act, just call me. Others might be afraid of offending that Yinggu Liang, but I'm not. He's just a bodyguard. If he behaves obediently, then so be it. But if he dares to stir up trouble, I'll thicken my skin and complain to Master, Dongbo Shuang said. Ruthless. The White Sand City Lord immediately praised. There were only two reasons why Dongbo Shuang was feared by the major powers. The first was that he had immense potential, and the second was that he was His Majesty's personal disciple. Given how highly God Emperor regarded his personal disciple, if Dongbo Shuang really did complain, then it would be truly terrifying. Of course, Shuang only said it verbally. If he truly could not handle it himself and was helpless, he would only do so. Right, Dongbo? The White Sand City Lord chuckled. There's something I need to tell you first. Big brother, please speak, Dongbo Shuang said. You should know. I was foolish back then and was expelled from Master's tutelage. The White Sand City Lord said, I've been thinking about when I'll be able to return to Master's tutelage. This. Dongbo Shuang hesitated. Back then, his big brother, the White Sand City Lord, had secretly eaten Master's precious world sandheart fruit. In a fit of rage, Master had expelled him. It was too difficult to redeem such a thing. I'm not asking for your help right now, Dongbo. You've just become a disciple of my teacher not too long ago, so I'm afraid it's useless for you to say such words. The White Sand City Lord continued, I know that my teacher was quite angry at that time. It will be very difficult for me to return to Master's tutelage. However, I've lived for so long, and I estimate that more than half of my lifespan has passed. I only have one thing on my mind, and that is to return to Master's tutelage before my true deity heart collapses. Big brother? Dongbo Shuang hurriedly said, Don't worry. When I'm stronger, I'll find a good time to talk to Master about this. The White Sand City Lord grinned and said happily, Good, it's good to hear that. 2 streaks of light suddenly flew over from afar. It was Goodbye and an unfamiliar dark-skinned man. The 2 of them had landed. Hurry up and greet His Highness, Goodbye immediately said. Bai Li Shang greets Your Highness. The dark-skinned man bowed respectfully. Dongbo Shuang took a look and noticed that Bai Li Shang had an extraordinary aura. He was a universe god in the second heaven. It seemed like they were here to seek refuge with him. Ever since the open recruitment, there were 3 Stage 2 world deities who sought refuge with him, including this one. Brother Bai Li, where did you come from? Dongbo Shuang asked. The dark-skinned man immediately said, Reporting to Your Highness. I've been roaming the deity world, adventuring and tempering myself. However, I've been cultivating for over 2 billion years, and it's been hard for me to advance any further. I've grown tired of roaming the world for so long, and I've been looking for a safe place to meditate. That's why I've come to seek refuge with Your Highness. Dongbo Shuang nodded lightly. Senior brother Goodbye, bring brother Bai Li Shang to a place to rest. Very soon Goodbye and the dark-skinned man turned into 2 shadows and disappeared into the distance. I came to see you, and I've only met a Stage 2 world deity seeking refuge with you? The White Sand City Lord sighed. Tell me, how many Stage 2 world deities have you recruited so far? Not many, just 3, Dongbo Shuang said. That's still not many. How long have you been recruiting? The White Sand City Lord sighed. If you continue recruiting like this, it would be normal for you to exceed 10 after a while. I've lived for hundreds of millions of years, but I only have 8 Stage 2 world deities under my command. Moreover, the majority of them have slowly cultivated and advanced from the weak subordinates under me. Someone with true strength like them still wants to seek refuge with me? Very few. They only came early because they saw that you're His Majesty's personal disciple and have an extraordinary future ahead of you. So I'm really envious. Dongbo Shuang laughed. Brother Bai Li, if there's anything you need, feel free to look for me. Goodbye laughed. You can stay in this cave for now. As for the commander of my personal guard, there's no need to rush. His Highness will definitely choose someone when the time comes. With your strength, even if you're not a commander, you'll at least be a vice commander. Many thanks, brother Goodbye. Bai Li Shang laughed. Goodbye nodded. Then I won't disturb you any further. You can rest for now, and you can also take a stroll around. I've already instructed the maids to inform you where you can and can't go in this cave. With that, Goodbye left. Bai Li Shang turned around. After all, this was not a cave for guests, and he was also a Stage 2 world deity. This cave covered an area of several thousand kilometers. After all, when world deities cultivated, the space was too small for them to practice. If there's nothing important, don't disturb me, Bai Li Shang ordered. He then quickly entered a quiet room at the back of his hall. Within the quiet room, Bai Li Shang surveyed his surroundings. With a wave of his hand, black world deity energy immediately flew out in all directions, quickly covering the entire quiet room and forming a complicated array that isolated all probing. He even took out a pendant from his storage ring and temporarily wore it in front of his chest. This pendant emitted ripples that permeated the surroundings, making it even harder to probe. Assassins and those with sufficiently high statuses would usually have treasures that could distort spacetime and isolate probing. Who? Bai Li Shang heaved a sigh of relief. His eyes were filled with unconcealable excitement. With a flip of his hand, an ordinary wooden box appeared. He solemnly placed it in front of him before slowly opening it. Inside the wooden box was a black sphere with many uneven patterns on it. I got it. Bai Li Shang's eyes were filled with excitement. Monarch Tsang Yong spared no expense in order to obtain this treasure, sending us into the ruins one by one. But in the end, this treasure ended up in my hands. Bai Li Shang stretched out his hand and caressed the black sphere, pouring his world deity energy into it. The black sphere slowly lit up, and the uneven patterns on its surface began to emit light that illuminated the surrounding space. It was an extremely complicated and unfathomable diagram. Bai Li Shang looked at the diagram that had appeared in the air above the quiet room, completely intoxicated by it. After obtaining this treasure, he had seen it a few times while fleeing. Although he had only seen it briefly, it had greatly affected his comprehension of the laws of heaven and earth. That ruin is so vast that even stage 4 world deities can lose their lives at any time. For monarch Yong to be so crazy about it, this treasure must be extraordinary. Bai Li Shang carefully pondered. He was originally a cannon fodder that monarch Yong had forcefully captured. The monarch had also laid down an inescapable net around the ruins, so logically speaking, no one should have been able to escape. However, after obtaining the black sphere, the ruins collapsed, and the arrays laid down by monarch Yong were directly destroyed. Bai Li Shang could not even fend for himself. At that time, spacetime was in chaos, causing many world deity cannon fodder to flee in all directions. As for Bai Li Shang, he was the luckiest one to obtain the treasure. I fled without making a sound, even isolating myself from detection, from the periphery, through the Temporal Islands territory, all the way to the Bloodshed God Palace's territory. I'll secretly join Dongbo Shuang. The corner of Bai Li Shang's mouth curled upwards. Dongbo Shuang was also able to protect me. Furthermore, monarch Yong would most likely not be able to find me. Bai Li Shang then continued to carefully study the black sphere, searching for the secrets of this treasure. Chapter 506. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed since Dongbo Shuang became the supervisor envoy. It was not just the eastern region of the Calm Sea Prefecture. Many other regions were also paying close attention to this matter. They wanted to see how His Highness Dongbo would deal with the venomous Ying world deity. But even after such a long time, Dongbo Shuang had not made a single move. This caused many powers to mutter inwardly. What's going on with this Dongbo Shuang? Could it be that he doesn't have enough strength to deal with venomous Ying? Unless he directly reports to His Majesty God Emperor, only then can he deal with venomous Ying. But if he were to rely on His Majesty for such a small matter, His Majesty would think that this Dongbo Shuang is too useless. There's nothing he can do. His future might be limitless, but his strength is still too weak. World deities had long lifespans. They were all extremely patient as they paid close attention to the matter. They felt that since Dongbo Shuang had already spoken so viciously, it was impossible for there to be no movement at all. This was simply too shameful. Regardless of success or failure, there had to be some sort of movement. In a quiet room within the supervisor envoy's residence, Dongbo Shuang was currently sitting cross-legged with 9 golden pearls placed in front of him. Strands of golden light were constantly flying into Dongbo Shuang's nostrils. Within his body, his world deity energy was fusing with these strands of golden light. After a mystical transformation, they began to transform into strands of white energy. This was the luminous sun force. This luminous sun force was purer, heavier, and sharper. The original luminous sun force was once again absorbing the golden light and transforming it. A short moment later, countless white clouds appeared in the sky above the continent within his inner world. Each white cloud was condensed from the luminous sun force. Hong Long Long, the luminous sun force circulated within his body. It had completely fused with his muscles, bones, internal organs, and even the most basic particles of his body. This caused Dongbo Shuang to feel a power that could destroy the heavens and exterminate the earth. After cultivating for 3 months, I finally completed the 3rd transformation. Dongbo Shuang revealed a smile. It truly wasn't easy. It was more than 3 months. In truth, his main body had been maintaining 100 times time acceleration in his hometown, Crimson Rock Mountain, before he finally comprehended and broke through, cultivating the 2nd volume of Luminous Sun to rank 3. Next, the 4th transition will be difficult. Dongbo Shuang thought to himself, rank 4, even if my comprehension is not bad, I'm afraid it will take a long time. To be honest. Even though it was difficult to cultivate ultimate skills, Dongbo Shuang was more than willing to spend his time on it. Other than increasing his strength, it would also allow Dongbo Shuang to have a deeper understanding of the laws of heaven and earth. It was also very helpful for cultivation. Now it is time to deal with venomous Ying. Dongbo Shuang stood up and waved his hand to put away the 9 golden demon crystals. I haven't done anything for a long time. Does she think that I can't do anything to her? Rumble, the door to the quiet room opened. Dongbo Shuang walked out of the room. Commander Bai Li, Commander Jiuqi, quickly gather the soldiers under you. After walking out of the quiet room, he stood by the railing and spoke in a clear voice, which spread throughout the entire supervisor envoy residence. At that moment, the entire supervisor envoy residence was in an uproar. A large number of soldiers quickly gathered. So. Several streams of light flew over and landed by Dongbo Shui Ying's side. They were precisely Jing Qiu, Dongbo Yu, Dongbo Qingyao, Gubai, He Feiyun, Shi Wei and the others. Dongbo, what are you planning to do by gathering your personal guard? The moment Jing Qiu spoke, Dongbo Yu became excited. Father, are we going to deal with that venomous Ying world deity? Amen. Dongbo Shuang smiled and nodded. Are you confident? Jing Qiu asked. Rest assured, Dongbo Shuang said confidently. Father, bring me over, Dongbo Qingyao said expectantly. Dongbo Yu also said, I'll go as well. Dongbo Shuang looked at his wife and said, all right, I'll bring you over. Jing Qiu, help me look after the two of them. Don't be rash. At that moment, two majestic troops flew over from the distance. All the soldiers were clad in azure armor. The captains were similarly armored, albeit with some black veined patterns. The commanders, on the other hand, were clad in azure armor with some more complicated golden veined patterns. A commander was the core of a troop's array. Greetings, Your Highness. Over 2,000 people landed and greeted respectfully, their voices shaking the world. At the same time, the other two commanders and world deities rushed over. Dongbo Shuang nodded and ordered, Commander Bai Li, Commander Jiu Qi, lead your troops and follow me. The others, stay in the residence and listen to Gu Bai and He Feiyun's orders. Yes. All of them acknowledged in unison. Shi Wei, follow me as well. Dongbo Shuang instructed. He then loudly ordered, let's go. Boom, Shuang led his subordinates out of the supervisor envoy residence in a grandiose manner. They're out. That His Highness Dongbo is finally making a move. He's leading over 2,000 of his personal guards and has set off. Many scouts from various organizations, including those under the command of the venomous Ying world deity, had long been keeping watch in the surroundings. Upon seeing such a huge movement, they immediately reported it upwards. Dongbo Shuang did not care at all. He directly led his personal guards to another place in Eastern Region City that occupied an extremely large area, the encampment of the Eastern Blaze Army. Outside the encampment of the Eastern Blaze Army, General Mo was already waiting at the entrance with some soldiers. Dongbo Shuang landed with his personal guards and greeted, General Mo, Your Highness, why have you come here? General Mo smiled. And you've brought so many soldiers with you. As a supervisor envoy, I've been in this position for so long, yet I've done nothing at all. I'm truly ashamed. Shuang directly said, I've come to General Mo's place to carry out my duties as a supervisor envoy. The supervisor is here. General Mo hurriedly said, Your Highness Dongbo, please be at ease. I'll cooperate with everything. Let's talk inside. Dongbo Shuang walked inside with General Mo accompanying him. Jing Qiu, Dongbo Yu, Dongbo Qingyao and a large number of soldiers followed behind them. If Your Highness has any orders, please feel free to give them. General Mo's attitude was rather humble. There was nothing he could do about it. Although he was one of the 4 great generals of the Kamsi prefecture, his personal strength was the weakest. He was not as tyrannical as General Wu, who was one of the strongest stage 3 world deities in the Kamsi prefecture. He was also not like General Qin, who had a powerful backer. In front of Dongbo Shuang, General Mo's attitude was naturally humble. How many starfields does the nest of myriad devils control? Dongbo Shuang asked. General Mo thought to himself. The nest of myriad devils was the organization under the control of the venomous Ying world deity. His Highness Dongbo was really going to act against her. The nest of myriad devils controls 32 starfields, General Mo said. They're also in charge of collecting faith energy from these 32 starfields. Bring out all the records of the nest of myriad devils collection of faith energy from its inception until now, Dongbo Shuang said the moment he sat down in the Great Hall. Good. Hurry up and bring them out. General Mo ordered his subordinates. A short while later. Dong dong dong. A world deity general walked in. With a wave of his hand, 3 chests appeared. With a wave of his hand, the chests were completely opened, revealing a pile of scrolls within. Dongbo Shuang swept his gaze across them. His fiery red world deity energy enveloped them, seeping into every single scroll. How fast was the thought process of a world deity? In a split second he had already checked through all the scrolls. Interesting. Dongbo Shuang looked at General Mo. The nest of myriad devils doesn't seem to be collecting much faith energy? Chapter 507. Today was the 5th day. Bloodshed God Palace. To the countless stars in the entire territory, it would make the lives on those stars worship a certain powerful god. They would place a deity statue on a planet that could condense faith energy. They would then have the various lower-level organizations collect it and offer it. After all, they did not have enough manpower and could not control every single planet. On the other hand, the various world deity organizations would be able to penetrate the planet even more thoroughly. They were also responsible for collecting faith energy. This was an extremely tedious task. Many people who wanted faith dared to go to a star and steal the power of faith in order to become a world deity. Even late and peak deities dared to take such a risk. Thus, they had to have sufficient control over every single planet to ensure that the faith energy would not be stolen. Take the Xia people's world for example. After Dongbua Shuiying grasped hold of the Mirage deity heart, he was able to isolate the transmission of faith energy from the Xia people's world. This made the world deity from the Temple of the Earth God so anxious that he sent his deity avatar down to obtain faith energy. Faith energy, it was even more precious than deity crystals. Apart from people like Dongbua Shuiying, whose goal was to become a powerful existence, he would not be willing to absorb faith energy. Almost all world deities would absorb faith energy. This would greatly increase their cultivation speed. If Dongbua Shuiying were to use faith energy, he would have long reached the 4th boundary of the 2nd volume of the Luminous Sun, or even become a stage 3 world deity. Faith energy would allow one's cultivation to undergo a qualitative transformation. The nest of myriad devils, 32 starfields? They only collected so little faith energy? Dongbua Shuiying sneered. It's recorded in there, General Mo said. General Mo said hurriedly, those 32 starfields are often visited by deities to steal faith energy. There are even large-scale wars that lead to a sharp decline in population. Shuiying sighed. The nest of myriad devils controls a place where all sorts of things often happen. It really isn't your average misfortune. General Mo, have you investigated them? Are their reports true? This. General Mo helplessly said, the entire Kamsi Prefecture Eastern region is vast and has countless stars. How could I investigate them one by one? Investigate every single one of them by reversing time? This was simply unrealistic. Don't worry, there are also records of which stars' power of faith was collected by who. There's a list of names for them. Dongbua Shuiying sneered. His Majesty, God Emperor, was rather lax in his management of the various levels of the Bloodshed God Palace. However, the myriad devil nest's actions were extremely excessive. This was because most forces did not dare to go overboard. The nest of myriad devils relied on the fact that Ying Liang was in the Bloodshed God Palace. General Mo also turned a blind eye to this, so the amount of faith power that he handed over was much lesser. All right, I'll take these with me, Dongbua Shuiying said. Is that all right? Of course you can, General Mo replied. Let's go. Dongbua Shuiying waved his hand and brought the wooden chest with him as he walked out of the Great Hall. Following which, a huge dark green ship appeared out of thin air. Dongbua Shuiying and his subordinates boarded the ship. Swoosh. The Starfield flying ship quickly flew away and disappeared into the horizon. General Mo looked on from afar. General, does His Highness Dongbua plan to start with faith power? A bearded old man asked from the side. The venomous Ying world deity and Ying Liang have been stuffing their pockets with faith stones over the years. They should be worth at least 800 million deity crystals. General Mo sneered. However, Ying Liang still has to send some to the officials in charge of the Bloodshed God Palace. I reckon that the two siblings should have at least 500 million deity crystals in their hands. I can't fight against them, but His Highness Dongbua. His Highness Dongbua has His Majesty behind him. That's the greatest backing he has, General Mo said. This is going to be interesting. The Starfield flying ship traveled through the spacetime tunnel toward the nest of myriad devils. The nest of myriad devils. It was an enormous mountain located amidst the vast starry sky. It was unknown how many millions of kilometers tall it was. Black fog roiled around it and countless venomous snakes slithered about. Countless deities lived here, including a group of world deities and 5 stage 2 world deities. Many of them specialized in hexing poison. After all, the venomous Ying world deity was the most proficient in hexing poison in the entire Kamsi prefecture. The nest of myriad devils was also home to the most venomous creatures, making it the most suitable place for researching hexing poison. Look! It's the Starfield flying ship. It's the Starfield flying ship. Hurry up and report to Master. The nest of myriad devils had a strict hierarchy. The venomous Ing-world deity flew out from one of the great halls within the nest of myriad devils. Beside her was a short companion, and behind her was a group of stage 2 world deities and world deities. As for deities, there were countless of them. With a single glance, one could see that there were more than 100 million deities. The power of the nest of myriad devils was truly tyrannical. The venomous Ing-world deity sneered as she looked into the distance. There was an enormous starfield flying ship tearing through the void as it flew over. There were many rows of green armored soldiers standing on the ship, and every single one of them had a powerful aura. After all, they had all reached the threshold of the world deity realm. Even though there were only 2,000 soldiers on the ship, the aura they emitted was far above that of the 100 million deities. This was the difference between the army of the Bloodshed God Palace and the scattered soldiers. While the green armored soldiers rapidly flew out and stood in the void, the starfield flying ship disappeared. Dongbo Shuiying flew to the front of the army. Beside him were Jing Qiu, Dongbo Yu, Dongbo Qingyao and Shi Wei. May I ask why the supervisor envoy has come to my place? The venomous Ing-world deity sneered. I'm currently at a crucial point in my cultivation. If the supervisor envoy has no important matters, then I won't be accompanying you. Venomous Ing. Dongbo Shuiying directly shouted. I've checked on the collection of faith energy and discovered that the amount of faith energy your nest of myriad devils has handed over is suspiciously low. Right now, I need all the members of your nest of myriad devils responsible for collecting faith energy from every planet. I want to interrogate them one by one. They're all dead, the venomous Ing-world deity casually replied. All dead? Dongbo Shuiying frowned. 32 starfields, countless planets, and a total of 1 million deities responsible for collecting faith energy in the past 100 million years are all dead? Dead. The venomous Ing-world deity sighed. When I was researching hexing poisons, a moment of carelessness caused the hexing poison to leak out, resulting in the deaths of countless deities. Supervisor. I can't do anything about it. How could they hand over the gatherers? Not a single one. Once he handed one over, he could verify it. He could even go back in time to check the situation of a star's past to verify the truth. Therefore he couldn't hand over any of them. When Dongbo Shuiying saw this, he laughed coldly. There were a total of 1 million divinities in charge of harvesting, but all of them died. This is truly a miracle. You might believe it, but I don't. I'm afraid that the officials in charge of the Bloodshed God Palace won't believe it either. Even if you don't believe me, I can't do anything about it. This is the truth, the venomous Ing-world deity said. If you don't believe me, you can search my nest of myriad devils for free. 1 million gods all dead. What a coincidence. Dongbo Shuiying immediately shouted. Venomous Ing, your reasoning is too preposterous, so I can only escort you into the Bloodshed God Palace. Let the Bloodshed God Palace conduct the interrogation. Listen to my orders. Commander Bai Li, capture the venomous Ing-world deity and escort her to the Bloodshed God Palace. None of the deities in the nest of myriad devils are to resist. Anyone who resists will be considered a traitor to the Bloodshed God Palace and will be executed. Yes. Commander Bai Li Shang acknowledged the order. The soldiers under him all had their eyes lit up and were filled with fighting spirit. This was their first battle after becoming his personal guard. Chapter 508. The 6th chapter. Stop. Suddenly, a voice reverberated through the void. The one who spoke was none other than the short man standing beside the venomous Ing-world deity. Dongbo Shuiying looked over. The short man was dressed in black. He spoke in a clear voice, Your Highness Dongbo, I have come under the orders of my master. Your master? Dongbo Shuiying waved his hand to stop his subordinates. If I'm not wrong, you should be world deity Dongxiao. Is your master Monarch Wuqin? Yes. The short man smiled. Monarch Wuqin. A stage 4 world deity. His master was the Bamboo Mountain Prefecture master. However, it was said that Monarch Wuqin was obsessed with cultivation. Why would he send his subordinates to protect the venomous Ing-world deity? This left Dongbo Shuiying somewhat puzzled. At this time, Dongbo Shuiying's subordinates were also somewhat apprehensive. Stage 4 world deities, any stage 4 world deity was an overlord. Everyone felt apprehensive and hesitant. Yes, I have come under the orders of my master Monarch Wuqin. The short man smiled. This matter of faith energy, I believe that there has been some misunderstanding. Why don't we sit down and resolve this misunderstanding? Your Highness Dongbo, why don't you give my master some face? Must Monarch Wuqin interfere in this matter? Dongbo Shuiying frowned. The enmity between him and Venomous Ying was no secret. Monarch Wu Chen had actually interfered and forbade him from taking revenge. This was not putting him in his eyes at all. Why would this Monarch Wu Chen, who was obsessed with cultivation, do such a thing? Since the monarch has said so, I naturally have to do it. The short man frowned. Could it be that your highness Dongguo will not give the monarch any face? The venomous Ying world deity sneered from the side. Venomous Ying world deity, I have suspected that she has stolen a lot of faith energy. Now that more than 1 million collectors have all died, this is too strange. I must bring her to the Bloodshed God Palace for investigation, Dongguo Shuiying said coldly. World deity Dong Xiao, you should leave immediately. The short man was stunned, and so was the venomous Ying world deity. You dare. The short man was furious. You dare provoke my master? Your master? He asked me to give him some face, but he didn't give me any. Shuiying's eyes were filled with anger. Go. Yes. Commander Bai Li Shang immediately complied. Boom. Commander Bai Li, the 10 captains, and the 1,000 soldiers all activated the runes on their armor. For a time, this vast and mighty army seemed to become one. Commander Bai Li held a giant axe in his hand as he slashed through the air, furiously chopping down. Hong Long Long, bringing along the might of the entire army, this furious chop of his reached the level of a stage 3 world deity. The axe tore through the sky, and with a flash, it appeared right in front of the venomous Ying world deity. The body of the venomous Ying world deity abruptly turned huge. Her enormous tail twisted about, and the 1,000 personal guards seemed like ants compared to her. Her upper body was still that of a human, and she held a huge poisonous trident in her hand. At the same time, the entire nest of myriad devils was filled with black fog, and countless black fog wrapped around her body. This was her lair, a lair she had been managing for countless years. With the support of countless arrays, her combat power had greatly increased. In the past, she might not have been able to fight head-on, but now that she was in her lair, her combat power had rapidly increased. Every single one of her moves now carried a great power. Scram. The venomous Ying world deity fiercely swung her tail. Hua! The tail arced through the void, striking the axe in an instant. Commander Bai Li's expression changed slightly, and the 1,000 personal guards, including him, were all forced back. Amen? Dongguo Shuiying frowned. It's said that this venomous Ying doesn't specialize in close combat. She specializes in hexing poisons, but she's actually able to repel 1,000 personal guards? It seems like the arrays in the nest of myriad devils have truly strengthened her greatly. Again. Surround them. Commander Bai Li gave the order, leading his soldiers to surround them. All of you scram. The venomous Ying world deity fiercely brandished the venomous trident in her hand, sending her personal guards scattering in all directions. The ordinary soldiers were all sent flying, smashing into the distant rocks of the nest of myriad devils, and some were even sent flying into the void. But now that the Bloodshed God Palace's arrays had strengthened the soldiers, every single one of them could display the power of a world deity. Furthermore, they would be scattered throughout the arrays whenever they were attacked, so they were all fine. Your Highness, this venomous Ying world deity is extremely powerful in close combat. We can't deal with her, Commander Bai Li anxiously transmitted. A team of personal guards could only match an ordinary stage 3 world deity. But now, the venomous Ying world deity had been strengthened by the arrays in her lair for countless years. Her combat power was tyrannical, and she was at the apex even amongst stage 3 world deities. Not to mention one team, even 2 teams of 1,000 people would at most be evenly matched, and it would be very difficult to capture them. I'm also a member of the Bloodshed God Palace, and I have a rank, the 5th rank. Dongguo Shuiying is just a supervisor envoy, so he doesn't have the authority to capture me. The venomous Ying world deity stood in the void, her enormous tail sweeping left and right, sending the soldiers flying. She sneered as she looked at Dongguo Shuiying. This was just a matter of wrangling. Dongguo Shuiying's authority was not that great. He did not even have the authority to punish a 5th rank world deity. However, if he were to capture her and interrogate her, Dongguo Shuiying would naturally receive some punishment if the venomous Ying world deity was found to be innocent. If the venomous Ying world deity was guilty, then this minor violation of the rules would not count for much. But now, he was actually unable to capture the venomous Ying world deity. Dongguo Shuiying, your subordinates aren't strong enough, yet you still dare to come and capture me? The venomous Ying world deity's enormous body looked down at the ant-like subordinates of Dongguo Shuiying. I cultivate in hexing poison and have refined my body into a hexing poison body. I've even fused it with the arrays of the nest of myriad devils. Do you really think you can deal with me? Hexing poison body? Augmented by the arrays of the nest of myriad devils? Dongbo Shuiying suddenly extended his right hand. His palm was as warm as jade. The moment he extended it, it rapidly expanded to a length of 500,000 kilometers. It was so majestic that it tore through the void. It must be stated that the time immemorial body required every single particle in the body to eventually form a time immemorial world. The most basic component of a body was a time immemorial world. Once it reached grand completion, just how huge would the body be? A single finger would likely be billions of kilometers long. Of course, Dongbo Shuiying was only at the 6th level of the time immemorial body, but if his deity body were to truly expand, it would be just as huge. Now that his arm had expanded, his 5 fingers were like 5 heavenly pillars. At the same time, there was a faint white light revolving around his fingers, making them seem crystalline and holy. Ah, what a pity for your highness Dongbo. Not whoever has a bigger palm is the most powerful. The venomous Ying world deity sneered. Her voice reverberated through the void, but she showed no mercy. Her enormous tail abruptly lashed out, bringing with it an unparalleled might as it lashed out at the enormous palm. The enormous palm that blotted out the void came slapping over, and the venomous Ying world deity's tail furiously lashed out as the two collided. However, the enormous palm paused for a moment before pressing down with an even more ferocious might. The venomous Ying world deity stared with wide eyes. Impossible. However, there was no time for her to escape. With a pung, the enormous palm slapped the venomous Ying world deity, sending her flying into the tall mountain of the nest of myriad devils. Its power was so great that a huge palm print was left behind on the towering mountain. At the same time, countless rocks and boulders were sent flying in all directions. What? The short world deity Dong Xiao stared in disbelief at the venomous Ying world deity, who had the support of the nest of myriad devils, being slapped into the mountain with a single palm. The world deities from the nest of myriad devils, as well as the 100 million deities behind him, could not believe their eyes. It was not just them. It was the subordinates that Dongbo Shuiying had brought along. Even Dongbo Yu, Dongbo Qingyao, and the others were shocked to see the might of their father's palm. Chapter 509. Powerful strength. This was the most intimidating force. Upon seeing the terrifying might of that palm, everyone present was shocked and in disbelief. However, in their hearts, Dongbo Shuiying's position was rapidly rising. Dongbo Shuiying was no longer just someone with great potential. His personal combat power had already reached a frightening level. Phew. The venomous Ying world deity suddenly disappeared, and a large amount of black fog appeared in another location, condensing into the venomous Ying world deity. She held onto her venomous trident as she stared at Dongbo Shuiying in disbelief. She had just suffered that palm strike, so she was very clear about how powerful it was. Dongbo Shuiying's body swayed, becoming towering and towering, reaching a height of 5 million kilometers. He extended his right hand, and a scarlet spear that seemed to be burning with flames appeared in his hand. The power of the luminous sun force is truly formidable. Dongbo Shuiying sighed in admiration. The luminous sun, absolute art, was praised by the blood blade as being unyielding and unstoppable. What sort of foresight did God Emperor have? Even he had praised it. This was because the luminous sun was an extremely tyrannical absolute art. It must be known that there was a qualitative difference in the laws of profound mysteries between Stage 2 world deities and Stage 3 world deities. This was also the reason why it was so difficult to fight someone of a higher realm. Absolute arts. They were all things that allowed one to obtain an enormous advantage in a certain aspect, making up for the weakness in the laws of profound mysteries. For instance, the legions of the Bloodshed God Palace relied on the legions arrays, which were personally set up by God Emperor. Naturally, they were powerful. As for the luminous sun, absolute art, it would allow the user to possess extraordinary strength and speed. It could be said to be unyielding and unstoppable. For instance, after Dongbo Shuiying cultivated the second volume to the third revolution, his strength and speed had completely surpassed that of Stage 3 world deities. This was because he had an enormous advantage in both strength and speed. Even though there were many weaknesses in the laws of profound mysteries, he could still win. It must be known that the third revolution of the second volume of the luminous sun, absolute art, would allow one to dominate even amongst Stage 3 world deities. Dominate. This was the might of an absolute art. Yang, unyielding, indestructible. Venomous Ying, stop resisting. You can't. Dongbo Shuiying brandished the gigantic scarlet cloud spear, imbuing his luminous sun force into the spear. With the blood-refined divine weapon in his hand, his might was even stronger. Dongbo Shuiying was very clear that the venomous Ying world deity had only clashed head-on with him due to her carelessness. After suffering a loss, the venomous Ying world deity would most likely not clash head-on with him again. She would definitely rely on the laws of profound mysteries to deal with him. Therefore, Dongbo Shuiying had to be even more brutal and merciless. Clang! The venomous Ying world deity wanted to flee, but in the face of the gigantic spear that blotted out the sky, she could only brandish her venomous trident in an attempt to draw the spear away. She didn't want to fight head-on and wanted to use the laws of profound mysteries to battle. However, when the two weapons clashed, the venomous Ying world deity could feel a terrifying force transmitted through her weapon and into her body. Her entire person was sent flying and smashed into the mountain of the nest of myriad devils. Her expression changed drastically. "You didn't even try to fight me head-on, and yet you sent me flying with just a graze from your weapon? He's too strong in close combat, much stronger than even White Sand." The White Sand City Lord was victorious in annihilating White Sand. In terms of close combat, he was no match for Dongbo Shuiying. He had the luminous sun force. Dongbo Shuiying specialized in close combat. "Dong Xiao, why aren't you helping me?" The venomous Ying world deity transmitted. "Don't forget the orders of your master." "Don't worry." Dong Xiao gulped. He truly did not wish to act. This Dongbo Shuiying was just too tyrannical. The Stage 2 world deity was already so powerful. But no matter how unwilling he was, Monarch Wu Chen had long since given him the order. He had to protect the venomous Ying world deity. Wah! Dong Xiao took a step forward and appeared by the venomous Ying world deity's side. A black saber appeared in his hand. "Why aren't you surrendering?" Dongbo Shuiying displayed his spear techniques, each one of which was extremely ferocious. They caused the surrounding nest of myriad devils to collapse and shatter, and many of the arrays were destroyed. Dong Xiao and the venomous Ying world deity were completely suppressed even after working together. They were forced to dodge in all directions and could only rely on their superior laws of profound mysteries to struggle at death's door. "Why do I feel as though I'm fighting General Wu?" Dong Xiao felt his heart tremble. Against General Wu you wouldn't have been able to last until now. The venomous Ying world deity felt bitter in her heart. The nest of myriad devils, which she had operated for so many years, was constantly being destroyed. It was difficult to construct but easy to destroy. Many of the arrays would become useless once a part of them was destroyed. The venomous Ying world deity had already been weakened by more than half. Dongbo Shuiying frowned and shouted, "Stop struggling." Hong 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 hong. One could see many huge figures appearing in the surrounding void. Every single one of them was a towering Shuiying who was 5 million kilometers tall. There were a total of 9 Shuiyings, including the one holding the Scarlet Cloud Spear. Including the one holding the Scarlet Cloud Spear, there were a total of 10 of them. Kill? These 9 world bodies, with the exception of not having a blood-refined deity warrior, were not any weaker than the true body. Each of them wielded a spear and possessed an overflowing might. Hua! The black-robed Dongbo Shuiying's body was surrounded by countless white rays of light. These rays of light intersected with one another, rapidly wrapping around Dong Xiao and the venomous Ying world deity. Clearly, Dongbo Shuiying no longer had any patience left. He directly used his killing move, intending to capture them in one fell swoop. World prison. 9 world bodies. This. I feel that he's even more terrifying than General Wu. Dong Xiao looked at the 10 huge Dongbo Shuiyings around him. He knew that he was not a match for any one of them. Furthermore, the countless white rays of light wrapping around him made him even more terrified. He hurriedly extended his hand to grab the venomous Ying world deity. "Let's escape." Sela spacetime distorted. Dong Xiao pulled the venomous Ying world deity along as they tore through spacetime to escape. Clearly, it was a spacetime world deity grade secret technique. Dongbo Shuiying frowned. His greatest weakness was in the aspect of flying and escaping. After all, he had never made any progress in the aspect of spacetime, and none of the secret techniques he cultivated were good at flying and escaping. "You want to escape?" Dongbo Shuiying waved his hand, causing a starfield flying ship to appear. So. The 10 Dongbo Shuiyings immediately landed on the starfield flying ship. When it came to traveling through spacetime, what secret technique could compare to the starfield flying ship? "Shi Wei, protect the madam and the others. Wait for me here. I'll be back in a while." Dongbo Shuiying's voice was still reverberating, but he had already disappeared on the flying ship. Yes, Your Highness. Shi Wei, Commander Bai Li and Commander Jiu Qi all acknowledged the order. They watched in amazement. By the side they were all dumbfounded. A single Dongbui Shuang was already so powerful and now there were 10 of him? It was a complete suppression. Dong Xiao and the venomous Ying world deity were both forced to flee for their lives. Father is too formidable. Dongbui Yu's eyes lit up. He's really. All the spectators, including the world deities from the nest of myriad devils and the 100 million deities, were all watching in amazement. From their point of view, any one of Dongbui Shui Ying's bodies possessed the power to destroy the heavens and extinguish the earth. With a single thought, he could turn all of them into dregs. Quick, escape. Dong Xiao and the venomous Ying world deity both tore through spacetime to escape in a sorry state. They too had a starfield flying ship, but they were trapped in the world prison and were surrounded by 10 Dongbui Shui Yings, so they did not have the time to take it out. You won't be able to escape. A starfield flying ship had already appeared behind them. At the bow of the ship, Dongbui Shuang was staring at them. With a thought, hua, 9 world bodies appeared around Dong Xiao and the venomous Ying world deity. Each of them wielded a spear, and with a sweep of their spears, Dong Xiao and the venomous Ying world deity were completely separated. Cheat, countless white chains of light rapidly spread out. The venomous Ying world deity and Dong Xiao looked at the countless white chains of light and the 9 Dongbui Shui Yings around them, and they felt despair. How could it be like this? How long has it been? The venomous Ying world deity did not dare believe it. In the past, Dongbui Shui Ying had been nothing more than an ant in her eyes. But in the blink of an eye, he had become so powerful that she had been beaten like a stray dog. No, she was worse than a stray dog because she could not escape. Chapter 5:10. The venomous Ying world deity and Dong Xiao world deity came out from the spacetime tunnel and appeared in the starry sky. However, there were a total of 10 Dongbui Shui Yings surrounding them, all of them wielding spears that separated them from the rest of the group. Countless white chains of light were entangling and binding them. The venomous Ying world deity hurriedly transformed into a stream of black energy to evade the bindings, while Dong Xiao brandished his blade and slashed apart the chains binding him. The short man Dong Xiao hurriedly said, Your Highness Dong Bo, I have come to the nest of myriad devils under orders to resolve the enmity between you and the venomous Ying world deity. My master wishes to protect the venomous Ying world deity. The black-robed Shui Ying looked at world deity Dong Xiao with anger in his eyes. Since Monarch Wuqian had interfered in this matter, he definitely knew of the enmity between him and the venomous Ying world deity. How dare he try to make me give up my hatred with just one sentence? Are you certain that your master will become my enemy just because I dealt with venomous Ying? Dongbui Shui Ying looked at world deity Dong Xiao coldly. Dong Xiao's heart tightened. Become enemies? Monarch Wuqian had indeed instructed him to resolve this enmity and protect the venomous Ying world deity. He had never said that he wanted to be enemies with Dongbui Shui Ying. Plus, after feeling Dongbui Shui Ying's powerful power, Universe God Dong Xiao was extremely fearful. How long had he been cultivating? He had only cultivated for over 6,000 years and he could beat him and Universe God Du Xiao, 2 universe gods in the third heaven, like dead dogs without any power to fight back. Just thinking about it was a little frightening. He was too young. How strong would Dongbui Shui Ying be after tens of thousands of years? Dongbo. The venomous Ying world deity gritted her teeth. Monarch Wuqian personally promised me that he would protect me. Do you really want to become enemies with Imperial Monarch Wuqian? Monarch Wuqian is almost comparable to a powerful existence, and his master is the Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master. Oh, if I want to deal with you, then I have to become enemies with Imperial Monarch Wuqian? You think too highly of yourself. Dongbui Shui Ying laughed coldly. Even if I become enemies with Monarch Wuqian? You think I care? Venomous Ying world deity was startled. Universe God Dong Xiao was also stunned. Care. That was right. Monarch Wuqian's strength was tyrannical, and he was the Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master's disciple. He wasn't afraid of Dongbui Shui Ying at all, but would Dongbui Shui Ying be afraid of him? As a true proud son of heaven, he had only cultivated for a few thousand years, yet he was able to dominate the stage 3 world deities. He was also the personal disciple of His Majesty God Emperor. Furthermore, he was the lord of the material realm, so why would he be afraid? Venomous Ying, there's nothing I can do either, Dong Xiao sighed. His Highness Dong Bo's strength has far surpassed my expectations, so there's nothing I can do. You. The venomous Ying world deity was flustered. Venomous Ying, obediently follow me to the Bloodshed God Palace and be investigated. Dongbo Shui Ying's eyes were filled with mockery. If you're innocent, I'm afraid I'll have to be punished. If you aren't wrongly accused, the God Palace will naturally punish you. The venomous Ying world deity had an ugly expression on her face. She could casually lie, but the moment the Bloodshed God Palace investigated, many flaws in her story would be discovered. Stealing a large amount of faith energy was not a crime punishable by death. But while the death penalty could be avoided, the punishment would be unforgivable. The punishment would be extremely terrifying. Furthermore, after being punished and tortured for many years, by the time she was released, Dongbo Shui Ying would have become a stage 4 world deity. At that time he would be able to do whatever he wanted to her. No, I won't go. I definitely won't go. The venomous Ying world deity seemed to have gone mad. She looked at Dong Xiao. Dong Xiao, what about Monarch Wuqin? Won't he come? Monarch Wuqin isn't in the Kamsi prefecture. Even if he used a starfield flying ship to rush over, it would take him quite some time. Dong Xiao shook his head. Don't look at me. You should understand that I have no way of resisting. You, the venomous Ying world deity, was flustered. She looked at Dongbo Shuang. Dongbo Shuang, you're very good. I, venomous Ying, admit that I misjudged you. I never imagined that a peak deity brat would become so powerful in just a few thousand years. But today, even if I die, I won't go to the Bloodshed God Palace. If I don't go, what can you do to me? Hua hua hua. Although there were countless white shackles surrounding them, they were unable to restrain the venomous Ying world deity. In the end, Dongbo Shuang was only a stage 2 world deity. His realm was not high enough. Although he could suppress her directly, he was unable to seal her true deity heart or her world deity energy. Amen? Dongbo Shuang did not expect that the venomous Ying world deity would rather die than go to the Bloodshed God Palace. Do you dare kill me? You have no evidence to prove my guilt, and you have no right to kill a stage 3 world deity at the 5th step. Not even the Kamsi prefecture master has the right to kill me, much less you. The venomous Ying world deity sneered at Dongbo Shuang. If you kill me, you will be violating the laws of the Bloodshed God Palace. The venomous Ying world deity looked at Dongbo Shuang. At the same time, she transmitted a message to Monarch Wu Qin, who was in seclusion. Monarch, Dong Xiao is unable to help me and Dongbo Shuang is still unwilling to give up. Hurry and save me. Monarch, you promised me this. What to do? His realm was too low, and he could not seal the other party's true deity heart. If he had an army of his own, the Bloodshed God Palace would have a race to trap and imprison the enemy. However, he had rushed here alone through the space-time tunnel, and he was too far away from the nest of myriad devils. Even if he sent his world deity energy avatar to bring his personal guard back using the starfield flying ship, Dong Xiao could immediately escape with the venomous Ying world deity using a space-time secret technique. Damn it. If he used the starfield flying ship to bring his personal guard back, they would escape. If he did not bring his personal guard, he would not be able to seal and capture the venomous Ying world deity. You and I are both members of the Bloodshed God Palace, and we have to abide by the laws of the Bloodshed God Palace. We cannot fight and kill as we please. The venomous Ying world deity looked at Dongbo Shuang. And it is impossible for me to go with you to the Bloodshed God Palace today. In truth, you were only a deity back then, which was why I went overboard. How could I be so foolish as to make an enemy out of you? She spoke those words. In her heart she was waiting. The more time passed, the more likely Monarch Wu Chen would arrive. The moment Monarch Wu Chen arrived, he could easily save her. As long as Monarch Wu Chen saves me, I won't give you any chance to take revenge on me. Venomous Ying world deity thought, since we've already fallen out, I'll let you know the price of offending me. Venomous Ying world deity had many plans in her heart. Suddenly, a dazzling scarlet light arced through the sky and disappeared. When it reappeared, it had already pierced through the venomous Ying world deity's body. She stared wide-eyed at the huge wound on her chest. A scarlet cloud spear had pierced through her chest, causing a large amount of blood to splatter all over her enormous tail. You dare? The venomous Ying world deity's eyes widened. Boom boom boom. Following that, the other 9 Dongbo Shui Yings attacked with their spears. This time it was no longer like before when they were only used to suppress her. Instead, each attack was merciless. The venomous Ying world deity's body instantly exploded. Even her true deity heart was destroyed by a single spear strike. Luminous Sun was a technique of extreme yang and extreme toughness. Under the simultaneous attacks of the 9 world deity bodies, the venomous Ying world deity, who did not have the support of the arrays of the nest of myriad devils, was completely suppressed. Her true deity heart was destroyed and she died on the spot. The surrounding void exploded and the turbulent void turbulence gradually regained its calm. The 10 Dongbo Shui Yings kept their spears. Only the poisonous trident left behind by the venomous Ying world deity after her death and a few other items were left floating in the void. Humph, I don't dare to kill you. I have a treasure that can confuse space-time, making it impossible for me to reverse the flow of time. There is no evidence to prove that I killed you. The black-robed Dongbo Shuang coldly said. In the deity world, many assassins would bring along treasures that could confuse space-time before carrying out assassinations. They could not find any evidence at all. World deity Dong Xiao's eyes widened. Dongbo Shuang turned to look at him. Oh, world deity Dong Xiao, did you see it? No, I didn't see it. World deity Dong Xiao anxiously replied. I didn't see it. Furthermore, a witness can't be considered evidence. If I say someone is the killer, then that person must be the killer? A witness can't be considered evidence. Only irrefutable evidence can be used to convict the killer. Don't worry, don't worry. Those assassins have done this many times and they have never been discovered. Your Highness Dongbo, please be lenient. Please be lenient. Chapter 511. At this moment, world deity Dong Xiao was filled with regret. If he had known that Dongbo Shuang was this powerful, he would not have stepped into these muddy waters. He became a stage 2 world deity in just 5,000 years, and he can even be considered a hero amongst stage 3 world deities. Furthermore, his backer is His Majesty God Emperor. He is not afraid of offending my master at all. World deity Dong Xiao was afraid that Dongbo Shuang would kill him. Your Highness Dongbo, please be lenient. I was only ordered to come here. Dongbo Shuang chuckled. That's right. A witness is not evidence. The laws of the deity world were strict, and conclusive evidence was needed to convict someone. Speaking out was not enough to convict someone of a crime. Furthermore, the higher one's status, the greater their authority. For example, Venomous Ying was a 5th-rank world deity. Stage 4 world deities could not kill her, but powerful existences had the authority to do so. It was the same logic. Shuang was a 3rd-rank world deity. Usually, only stage 4 world deities were qualified to have such a rank, and his status was higher than Venomous Ying's. Even if he were to publicly kill Venomous Ying, he would at most be severely punished, but his crime would not warrant death. However, severely punished was a truly terrifying punishment. Venomous Ying had said before that she would rather die than go to the Bloodshed God Palace. She was afraid of being punished. Right. This is not evidence. World deity Dong Xiao was extremely nervous. Hurry up and leave. Dongbo Shuang chuckled. Yes. I'll leave. World deity Dong Xiao did not hesitate to use a space-time technique to flee. After fleeing into the space-time tunnel, he looked behind him and confirmed that Dongbo Shuang had not chased after him. Humph. Dongbo Shuang chuckled, then waved his hand to collect the treasures left behind by Venomous Ying. Although he was somewhat displeased with Monarch Wu Qin, he would not kill indiscriminately to the point of killing world deity Dong Xiao. After all, Dong Xiao was only a subordinate of Monarch Wu Qin who had come here on orders. He had no enmity with Dong Xiao, so there was no need to kill a subordinate who had come here on orders. It was only towards Venomous Ying that his killing intent had long been hidden, which was why he had acted so viciously. It still has an owner? Dongbo Shuang immediately discovered the problem with the weapons and treasures left behind by the Venomous Ying world deity. As I expected, she still has an avatar alive. It was very common for world deities to cultivate cloning techniques. He had killed one body of the Venomous Ying world deity, but her other body was still alive. Soon, the other clone would be able to use the cloning technique to cultivate it back. However, having one of her clones killed, the loss of her treasures is probably enough to make her heart ache. Dongbo Shuang flew back into the Starfield flying ship and started to refine the storage ring. Putting everything else aside, just this poisonous trident alone is her most famous weapon, a blood-refined divine weapon. It has been nurtured for billions of years, but now it has fallen into my hands. Just like how the Scarlet Cloud Spear was very important to him, losing a blood-refined god weapon really made his heart ache. Whoosh! The Starfield flying ship quickly flew into the space-time tunnel and headed towards the nest of myriad devils. Within a courtyard, the Venomous Ying world deity's enormous tail was curled up. Her expression was savage, as if she had gone mad. My poisonous trident, my treasures, my hex poison materials, Damn it, damn it. I've accumulated so many treasures for countless years, and now I've lost half of them. For instance, Dongbu Shui Ying's true body was absolutely safe in the Xia people's world. Thus, the majority of his treasures were left on his true body like the Crimson Rock Mountain. Even so, this true body was extremely important in the deity world. For instance, the God Emperor had given him the Scarlet Cloud Spear and many other treasures, as well as the luminous sun force he had cultivated. The absolute art luminous sun required the absorption of external energy. Treasures like the Golden Fiend Crystal and Demon Bone Ash were extremely expensive. The higher one's realm, the greater the price of cultivating the luminous sun force. The moment one died in battle, the blood-refined deity warrior would be gone, the luminous sun force he cultivated would be gone, and all the treasures he had on him would be gone. Even if he were to refine another body from his true body, he would still have to start cultivating the luminous sun force from scratch, and the blood-refined deity warrior would have to be nurtured once more. If the price of losing a body like Dongbu Shuang was so great, then the other world deities would have to pay an even greater price. This was because they did not have a place that was absolutely safe. Thus, they would usually split their treasures between two bodies. That way, if one of them died in battle, they would only lose half of their treasures. Even so, losing half of their treasures would still cause them to feel heartache. Dongbu Shuang, return me. Return me my hexing poison materials. Venomous Ying world deity was furious. She had thought of all sorts of methods to steal large amounts of faith energy to accumulate her wealth and purchase many materials. Yet now, half of her treasures had fallen into Dongbu Shui Ying's hands. Boom! Suddenly, a figure appeared in the distant void. It was a sloppy man. Monarch. Venomous Ying world deity hurriedly flew out of her courtyard. This courtyard was located atop a chain of mountains, and these mountains were floating in the starry sky. Venomous Ying. The sloppy man looked at her. This place is too far from the Calm Sea Prefecture. Not long after I set off, Dong Xiao informed me that your avatar has been killed. I was unable to save you in time. Monarch, please help me retrieve my treasures from Dongbu Shui Ying's hands, Venomous Ying world deity hurriedly said. Retrieve them? I might be able to forcefully protect you in front of him. The sloppy man's indifferent eyes contained a strand of coldness. But I have no way of snatching the treasures he has already kept. Could it be that you want me to forcefully take away his storage items? Monarch Wu Qin was not afraid of Dongbu Shuang. However, Dongbu Shuang was not afraid of him either. The third rank was the rank of a stage 4 world deity, and he was also a personal disciple of God Emperor. At most, he could only protect Venomous Ying. It was impossible for him to act against Dongbu Shuang. If he were to act and forcefully take away the treasures, even if he were to confuse spacetime and not leave behind any evidence, he would still offend Dongbu Shuang. This was something Wu Qin did not wish to see. But you said that Dong Xiao would go over to resolve this matter and protect me? Venomous Ying anxiously said. Dong Xiao has already done his best. The sloppy man shook his head. Enough. Don't go overboard. I've already offered up the incomplete version of the Myriad Poison record. Monarch, are you not going to keep your promise? Venomous Ying world deity was flustered. The reason why the Venomous Ying world deity could reach such a high level in the field of hexing poisons, to the point where she could be called the most formidable in the entire Calm Sea Prefecture, was because she had a fortuitous encounter and obtained the incomplete version of the legendary hexing poison inheritance, the Myriad Poison record. Unfortunately, it was only an incomplete version. The Tao of hexing poison, the Tao of insects and beasts, the Tao of alchemy, these unorthodox Taos upon reaching an extremely high level were similarly terrifying. Aren't you currently in my heavenly cloud mountain, under my protection? The sloppy man glanced at her. As long as you're in my heavenly cloud mountain, I'll definitely ensure your safety. With that said, the sloppy man took a step forward and arrived at a palace located at the peak of a mountain range. Damn it. The Venomous Ying world deity cursed in her heart. The nest of myriad devils. The entire nest of myriad devils was enormous, and only a few regions were in ruins. Outside the nest of myriad devils, there were over 100 million deities and a large number of world deities. These were all the subordinates of the Venomous Ying world deity. However, all of them were trembling with fear. The battle just now had caused them to lose all fighting spirit. Huan, in the distance, a hole of flowing light appeared in the void, and a deep azure ship flew out from it. A black-robed teenager stood on the bow of the ship. Father. Your Highness Dongbua. All sorts of excited voices could be heard. Dongbo Yu, Dongbo Qingyao, Commander Bai Li Shang, Commander Jiu Qi, and the rest of the personal guard were all looking at Dongbo Shuang with blazing gazes. Their two squadrons were unable to deal with the venomous Ying world deity even after working together, yet Dongbo Shuang was able to single-handedly beat the venomous Ying world deity and Dongxiao world deity to the point where they could not even retaliate. His formidable strength caused them to become fanatical. Previously, they had obeyed orders and respected Dongbo Shuang because of his great potential and because he was the personal disciple of His Majesty. But now they were worshipping Dongbo Shuang because of his formidable strength. Only power could make everyone believe in him. Commander Bai Li Shang, lead your men and investigate the entire nest of myriad devils. Investigate the subordinates of the venomous Ying world deity. See if the 1 million deities who collected the faith energy are truly dead, Dongbo Shuang ordered. Yes. Commander Bai Li Shang's voice was resounding and powerful. Follow me. Commander Bai Li Shang immediately shouted. He led his subordinates and began carrying out their tasks. Dongbo Shuang lowered his head to look at the storage ring in his hand. By relying on the luminous sun force, he had finally managed to forcefully erase the energy left behind by the venomous Ying world deity. Chapter 5:12. Sending his consciousness into the storage ring, he saw countless shelves filled with bottles and jars. There were also all sorts of rare materials, though deity crystals and faith stones were few and far between. There were even many scrolls on display. Other miscellaneous items were piled up into mountains. A stage 3 world deity who had lived for billions of years had accumulated so many things. She is indeed a hexing poison expert, carrying so many bottles and jars with her. I've long heard that her hexing poison is formidable, but I didn't give her a chance. Dongbo Shuang thought. The venomous Ying world deity specialized in releasing hexing poisons, but Dongbo Shuang had already arranged for his personal guard to protect his children. As for himself, he was completely capable of resisting the hexing poison transmitted through the void. The more formidable the hexing poison, the harder it was to transmit it. The venomous Ying world deity was best at transmitting her hexing poison through her poisonous trident, but Dongbo Shuang had 9 avatars and 10 spears surrounding her, not giving her a chance. Collecting so many rare materials shouldn't have been easy. I'll have a good look later, Dongbo Shuang thought. Father. Dongbo Yu shouted from the side, his eyes filled with excitement. Everything he had seen today had made him worship his father even more. His father's body was 5 million kilometers tall. One had to know that the entire Xia people's world was only 5 million kilometers wide. Dongbo Shuaying's time immemorial body was so huge, but that was nothing. When one cultivated to the pinnacle of time immemorial body, a single particle of one's body would become a time immemorial world. A single finger would be many times larger than the current Dongbo Shuang. However, Dongbo Yu was still a deity, spending most of his time in the Xia people's world and the inner world of Crimson Rock Mountain. His understanding of world deities was still too shallow. You, or what's the matter? Dongbo Shuang looked at him. Father, please give me some pointers when I return to the supervisor envoy residence, Dongbo Yu said. Dongbo Shuang laughed. You little brat, I usually ask you to cultivate, but you're always neglecting it. It's rare for you to take the initiative to ask me to guide you. What he didn't know was that the heaven-defying methods he displayed today had given his son a lofty aspiration. Your Highness, Your Highness. From afar, Commander Bai Li Shang darted through void space and came over. His tanned face was filled with respect, a respect that came from the bottom of his heart. The 1 million deities that the nest of myriad demons sent to gather faith power have really all died. All dead? Dongbo Shuang was startled. He had thought that the venomous Ying world deity had simply moved the 1 million deities to another location. Are you sure? Dongbo Shuang asked. I don't dare to be 100% certain. The venomous Ying world deity had also blurred spacetime when she did this, preventing anyone from probing her. Commander Bai Li Shang continued, however, I've already ordered my subordinates to carefully interrogate them. The members of the nest of myriad demons at the lower levels are not aware of this. Only the world deities at the upper levels know that on the second day after Her Highness became the supervisor envoy, she summoned the 1 million deities. They all entered the palace to pay their respects to her. After that, the doors to the palace were closed and there was no more news of them. Dongbo Shuaying's expression turned ashen. What a venomous Ying. She was truly ruthless. The second day after he became the supervisor envoy? On the second day, wasn't it Ying Gu Liang who came to apologize? After failing to do so, the venomous Ying world deity immediately killed the 1 million deities. She destroyed all traces of evidence. Something's not right. How could all 1 million deities be in the nest of myriad demons? Dongbo Shuang thought. Most likely when I became Master's personal disciple, she was already on guard. She had already gathered these 1 million subordinates from all over the world and left them in the nest of myriad demons so that she could deal with them at any time. She killed them all just like that. Dongbo Shuiying's eyes flashed with coldness. How vicious. Although he was decisive in killing, he would not go so far as to kill the innocent. There were some experts who would unintentionally harm the lives of the weaker ones. At the very least, they were not plotting a massacre. The venomous Ying world deity was someone who had long planned this. The moment she failed to apologize, she would immediately eliminate them. Those were all her loyal subordinates, and they were all killed by her in one fell swoop, all for the sake of destroying the evidence. Do you think that you can destroy the evidence? Dongbo Shuiying had long planned this out in his heart. Just as Dongbo Shuiying and the others were searching through the entire nest of myriad demons, a piece of news had already spread throughout the entire Kamsi prefecture at an extremely fast speed. The Kamsi prefecture could be said to be huge. Even teleportation arrays would take quite a while. But it could also be said to be small. Through communication treasures, news could spread out in the blink of an eye. There were only a few experts at the peak of the Kamsi prefecture, and they had been paying attention to the matter between Dongbo Shuiying and the venomous Ying world deity. This Dongbo brat is truly formidable. The Kamsi prefecture master was an amiable old man who was currently watering his plants. He could not help but praise the youth when he heard the news from his attendant. A young attendant with delicate features said, "Yes, yes, yes. He's very formidable." How long has he been cultivating for? Yet, he's already able to easily trample over both the venomous Ying world deity and the Dongxiao world deity. With such power, he's definitely at the apex of stage 3 world deities. He's not much weaker than General Wu. Furthermore, I've heard that one of the avatars of the venomous Ying world deity was killed by Dongbo Shuiying. Chunhua, where did you get this news from? The Kamsi prefecture master glanced at the young attendant with a smile. It's news from the heavenly cloud mountain. I dare not confirm it, but my guess is that it's not far from the truth. The young attendant added, I heard that the venomous Ying world deity sent an avatar to the heavenly cloud mountain when Dongbo Shuiying became the supervisor envoy. She went to find Monarch Wu Qin. Brother Wu Qin is infatuated with cultivation, the Kamsi prefecture master said. The Kamsi prefecture master continued, the purpose of researching so many paths is to find a path that leads to becoming a powerful existence. He has even scoured the entire deity world and even the dark abyss in search of what he needs. This venomous Ying should have some sort of treasure that she offered to Brother Wu Qin. Brother Wu Qin needs it. That is why he is protecting her. Monarch Wu Qin's actions are rather unwise. The young attendant shook his head. Do not be disrespectful to your seniors. The Kamsi prefecture master shouted. Furthermore, what do you know? He is stuck at the final hurdle, and his greatest desire is to break through that final hurdle and become a powerful existence, truly transcending eternity. For the sake of taking that final step, is there anything he wouldn't dare to do? The Kamsi prefecture master's eyes flashed with a hint of sharpness. As an old fellow among stage 4 world deities who had lived for far too long, he was very clear about Wu Chen's thoughts. If there was a chance of transcending right in front of him, he, the Kamsi prefecture master, would disregard everything. Even if he was asked to kill Shuiying, he would still dare. After killing him, he would simply betray the Bloodshed God Palace and rely on some other superpower, such as the Temporal Island. To ancient cultivators like him, personal combat power was the most important thing. Any other kind of power was just an illusion. The young attendant immediately changed the topic with a laugh. Prefecture Master, is Dongbo Shuiying really that formidable? He is only a stage 2 world deity, yet he is already so tyrannical? Did he obtain an absolute art? Emin, the Kamsi prefecture master nodded. He is His Majesty's personal disciple, so he should have obtained an absolute art. An absolute art. The young attendant's eyes shone. If I could obtain an absolute art, TSK, I might even be able to fight against stage 4 world deities. He was currently a stage 3 world deity. The Kamsi prefecture master sneered and shook his head. His realm is clearly lower by an entire level, yet he is able to display an even more tyrannical combat power. Everything has its own balance. For an absolute art to be so powerful, cultivating it must be extremely difficult. With Dongbo Shuiying's comprehension ability, If an ordinary stage 2 world deity were to cultivate it, they would most likely be far slower than Dongwu Shuiying. Furthermore, look at the Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master. He is known as the third ancestor, but in reality he is just a unique stage 4 world deity. With his realm, he should have long since become a powerful existence. It's a pity that he has been affected by the absolute art. The young attendant nodded. Still, that brat Dongwu is truly amazing. With his cultivation speed, he should be able to become a stage 3 world deity within 100,000 years. By then, his combat power will be even more amazing. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master laughed. It was not just the number 1 expert of the Calm Sea Prefecture, the Calm Sea Prefecture Master. Many other stage 3 world deities such as the famous General Wu, as well as the top-ranked experts, such as the Cluster Corpse Kings and the White Sand City Lord, were all astonished. The White Sand City Lord sighed with emotion. This brother of mine is improving so quickly that even I, as his elder brother, do not have the confidence to defeat him. Yes. I have to go and have a match with him. The moment the White Sand City Lord received the news, he immediately left his city and rushed towards Eastern Region City. Chapter 513. Dongwu Shuiying brought his wife and children along with him as he led his personal guard back from the nest of myriad devils. His Starfield flying ship soon arrived at the Calm Sea Prefecture's Eastern Region City. At this time, the White Sand City Lord was still in his base. In the sky above the Eastern Region City, General Mo was leading many of the Eastern Blaze Army subordinates, waiting high in the sky. Upon seeing the Starfield flying ship appear in the distant void, they immediately flew over to welcome it. Your Highness, Dongwu's battle has truly shaken the Calm Sea Prefecture. It won't be long before the other world deities within the Bloodshed God Palace's territory come to know of your Highness' strength. General Mo was incomparably cordial. Previously he had only been unwilling to offend Dongwu Shuiying, but now he had naturally lowered his status even further. Powerful cultivators would naturally be respected. It's a pity that Venomous Ying actually killed all the millions of people who were collecting faith energy. Dongwu Shuiying shook his head. This time all our efforts were for naught. She killed all of them? General Mo was shocked. I've investigated carefully and it should be true. It's a pity that Venomous Ying interfered with space-time when she massacred those millions of subordinates, Dongwu Shuiying said. Without sufficient evidence, we won't be able to deal with her. General Mo added, with your Highness' strength, there will be plenty of opportunities to deal with Venomous Ying in the future. She won't be able to jump around for much longer. Dongwu Shuiying gave General Mo a glance. This was the first time General Mo had clearly stood by his side. I still have some matters to attend to, so I'll be returning to my residence first. In the future, if General Mo is free, you can come visit me, Dongwu Shuiying said. Of course, General Mo replied. Following that, Shuiying brought along his subordinates and charged downwards. General Mo looked at Dongwu Shuiying's departing figure and revealed a smile. Dongwu Shuiying's final words clearly expressed his desire to get close to him. Haha, if a stage 2 world deity was already so powerful, he would most likely be able to fight against a stage 4 world deity as a stage 3 world deity. Even a fool would know that offending such an existence was an extremely foolish thing to do. General Mo naturally would not do such a thing. As soon as he returned to the supervisor envoy's mansion, Dongwu Shuiying turned around and left stealthily. He arrived at the Temporal Temple in the city. As the core city of the eastern region of the Calm Sea Prefecture, the Temporal Temple was incomparably majestic and luxurious. It was only slightly smaller than the nearby Bloodshed Tavern. Temporal Temple? The black-robed Dongwu Shuiying walked into the Temporal Temple with a complicated feeling in his heart. He had many conflicts with the Temporal Temple. Ah, Your Highness Dongwu. Within the majestic palace, a silver-robed world deity immediately came to welcome him. He was a stage 2 world deity, and he was the highest-ranking person in charge of the Temporal Temple in the Eastern Sea region. The Temporal Temple was famous for being well-informed, so it was natural that they knew of Dongwu Shuiying's recent actions that had shocked the entire Calm Sea Prefecture. This person in charge was incomparably respectful and humble. Your Highness, I am Yu Yun and I am in charge of this palace. Please come in and have a seat. The other attendants and guards in the temple watched from afar, not daring to approach. Usually, outsiders who came to the Temporal Temple would be served by attendants. The moment Dongwu Shuiying entered, the highest-ranking person in charge, world deity Yu Yun, immediately rushed out to welcome him. They arrived at an elegant hall. Tea was served. Your Highness, what brings you to my temporal temple? World deity Yin asked. I wish to ask the temporal temple to investigate the latest collection of faith energy from all the planets with life in the White Yang star field, Dongbo Shuang said. World deity Yun looked at Dongbo Shuang in astonishment. All the planets with life? A star field? How many planets with life were there? That was an extremely huge number of planets with life. Otherwise, it would not have given birth to so many deities. Your Highness, the collection of faith energy happens once every 10,000 years. World deity Yun said, to investigate all the planets with life in an entire star field, the price is extremely high. Dongbo Shuang nodded. I know. Of course it was high. Turning back time was easy if it was just the most recent events. However, the more ancient it was, the more energy it would consume. The higher the requirement for the profound mysteries of spacetime. He could also gather many deities who were proficient in the profound mysteries of spacetime. If it was just the most recent events, he could easily gather a large number of deities to investigate slowly. However, the time gap was too far. Perhaps only world deities who were proficient in the spacetime deity heart could do it. But for such experts to investigate the planets one by one, perhaps even a single planet would demand a deity crystal as a service fee. There were so many planets in the entire star field that not even powerful beings could afford it. Thus, Dongbo Shuang could only ask the temporal temple for help. The temporal temple was the strongest spacetime weapon created by the temporal island lord. Ordinary powerful existences would not be able to use their energy to enter the material world and teleport through spacetime. However, the treasure of the temporal temple could do it. From this, one could see how powerful it was. In terms of spacetime, this weapon was probably comparable to the blood blade. Moreover, it was just a weapon, so it could be used without any effort. It costs 30 million deity crystals. World deity Yin said directly. Dongbo Shuang nodded. Alright, I'll buy it. In any case, he had obtained quite a lot from the venomous Ying world deity. Using some to deal with her was nothing. In the time taken to brew a cup of tea, the temporal temple had collected all the information on the most recent gathering of faith energy in a starfield. This speed was truly terrifying. Your Highness, this is the detailed information. It contains the scenes of every single planet being turned back in time. World deity Yun immediately handed over a crystal plate. After receiving the crystal plate, Dongbo Shuang discovered that other than the records of countless planets being turned back in time, there was also a record of the gathering of faith energy. Good fellow. She actually only handed over 30%? Dongbo Shuang was inwardly speechless. This venomous Ying world deity is not just ordinarily daring. Let's see how she will escape this time. Dongbo Shuang thought. He then stood up and left the temporal temple. World deity Yun naturally sent Shuang all the way to the outside of the temple. He looked from afar and sighed inwardly. I've heard that His Highness Dong Bo came from the material world. My temporal island has the most detailed investigation of the material world, so logically speaking, such a formidable genius should have long been discovered by the temporal temple. Unexpectedly, he ended up in the hands of the bloodshed god palace. What a pity. But he did not know. Even the high and mighty temporal island lord had similarly paid attention to Dongbo Shuang. That was when Dongbo Shuang had just been accepted as a personal disciple. When the temporal island lord found out about it, he was rather astonished. Becoming a stage 2 world deity in just 5,000 years and becoming a personal disciple of the bloodshed god palace? He immediately understood the details, and only then did the treasure spirit of the temporal temple report everything. So it turned out that there had been 3 previous disputes. The first time the temporal temple invited him, Dongbo Shuang did not wish to be controlled and restricted, so he did not agree. The second time, Dongbo Shuang wanted to agree, but he knew that he would not be able to control the mission once he joined. He was worried that the Xia people's world would be attacked during the temporal temple's mission. Thus he gave up. The third time, Dongbo Shuang took the initiative to join. He only had one goal, to save his wife whose soul was about to completely dissipate. What a pity. A treasure capable of reconstructing one's soul was too precious, and the temporal temple felt that Dongbo Shuang did not have the value to do so. Thus they did not agree. I've actually missed out on a decent brat. However, this brat might not even become a powerful existence. After understanding the situation, the temporal island lord could only sigh before turning back to continue refining his weapon. Dongbo Shuang sent his subordinates to report the situation to the bloodshed god palace. Through a spatial teleportation array, the report reached the bloodshed god palace on the same day. The officials of the Bloodshed God Palace soon received the report. Being officials of the Bloodshed God Palace headquarters, they were naturally well informed. They were still discussing how Dongbua Shuiying had single-handedly suppressed Venomous Ying and Dong Xiao, two stage 3 world deities. We were just talking about His Highness Dongbua a moment ago, and in the blink of an eye, His Highness Dongbua has sent us evidence. His Highness is truly formidable. This evidence was bought directly from the Temporal Temple. The Temporal Temple must have asked for an exorbitant price to search through the faith energy of all planets with life in an entire starfield. It must be high. Furthermore, His Highness said that the million deities who collected faith energy were all killed. No matter what. The White Yang starfield governed by the nest of myriad devils recently collected faith energy, and the Venomous Ying world deity only handed over 30% of it. There is no doubt about this. I feel that we should send an order to capture the Venomous Ying world deity and interrogate her. Also, we should interrogate her about whether or not she was the one who massacred the million deities and why she did so. Massacring a million deities would usually be useless without sufficient evidence. However, the White Yang starfield's collection of faith energy did provide conclusive evidence. After all, no matter how formidable the Venomous Ying world deity was, it was impossible for her to distort spacetime on every single planet she collected. After all, she only had 2 such treasures. I agree. Emin, let's capture her and interrogate her first. Even though it was a crime for so many starfields to be robbed in just 10,000 years, it was not a serious crime. However, the moment they were captured and interrogated, they would discover that the 32 starfields had been like this for a very long time. This was also the reason why the Venomous Ying world deity was unwilling to surrender before Dongbua Shuiying. Capture her. The Bloodshed God Palace was extremely efficient. A division of a first-class legion immediately set off for Monarch Wu Chen's Heavenly Cloud Mountain. From this, one could see how accurate the intelligence of the Bloodshed God Palace was. The second watch had arrived and the third watch was still being written. Everyone could read it in the morning. Star. Chapter 5:14. There was a chain of mountains floating amidst the vast starry sky. This was the Heavenly Cloud Mountain, the residence of Monarch Wu Chen. Within a certain courtyard, the Venomous Ying world deity was currently within her cultivation room, observing a strange tree branch submerged in a liquid. The tip of the branch was completely immersed in the liquid, and there were faint green bubbles floating around it. The Venomous Ying world deity carefully observed it, her eyes penetrating through the fine details of the bubbles, allowing her to clearly observe every single particle within. She was currently cultivating in a frenzy. The Tao of hexing poison was something that could be comprehended from materials of myriad existences. Having one of her avatars killed by Dongbua Shuiying had left her furious and desperate to break through to become a stage 4 world deity. But how could it be so easy to break through? There was only a single stage 4 world deity in the entire Kamsi prefecture. The door to the cultivation room was instantly shattered. A figure rushed in. Who? The Venomous Ying world deity was furious. No one would be willing to be disturbed while cultivating in a cultivation room. Furthermore, this cultivation room was extremely sturdy, and it should not have been so easy to break through. The one who rushed in was a sloppy man with a sharp aura surrounding his body. Monarch? The Venomous Ying world deity was stunned. The sloppy man grabbed her arm and growled, "The Bloodshed God Palace has sent a first-class legion to capture you. Hurry up and leave." A first-class legion? The Venomous Ying world deity was so frightened that her heart trembled. A first-class legion was used to deal with powerful existences, and any one of them could deal with a stage 4 world deity. Yet they were here to capture her? This caused fear to well up in the Venomous Ying world deity's heart. Something wasn't right. Dongbua Shuiying did not have any concrete evidence. What right did the Bloodshed God Palace have to capture her? However, this was not the time to think about it. Let's go. The sloppy man grabbed the Venomous Ying world deity and instantly disappeared. At the same time, in the void outside the Heavenly Cloud Mountain, a celestial field flying ship flew out of the spacetime channel. On the huge celestial field flying ship stood many soldiers covered in armor. Even their faces were masked. All the soldiers' armor was of a deep green color, and their surface was covered in green lightning. This squad consisted of more than 1,000 soldiers, all of whom were world deities. Furthermore, the first-class legion was the highest-ranked legion of the Bloodshed God Palace, having been created by God Emperor over a long period of time. The main reason was that the secret techniques and armors were extremely complicated, and the combat power they formed was also extremely terrifying. A team like this, 10 teams working together. It was enough to deal with powerful existences. Rumble, under the leadership of the commander, they all flew out of the starfield flying ship. The void around them had already been shattered, and countless arcs of blue lightning crackled around them. "This is my heavenly cloud mountain." A cold voice rang out. A sloppy-looking man stood in the air in front of the heavenly cloud mountain, blocking the way. His eyelids were drooping, and he had a faint smile on his face as he coldly glanced at the troops in front of him. "What? Since when did the Bloodshed God Palace army dare to trespass on my heavenly cloud mountain? Have I broken some law?" The commander, who was also wearing a mask, coldly said, "Monarch, we have come here under orders to capture the venomous Ying world deity. I hope that Monarch will not block our way." This is my place and you want me to not block your way?" The sloppy man suddenly snorted angrily. Boom, terrifying violet flames revolved around the sloppy man's body. His skin began to glow with a violet crystalline luster, and the surrounding starry sky began to be burned into particles. In fact, even the particles were directly turned into nothingness. A terrifying temperature spread out in all directions. The sloppy man's eyes were burning with flames as he stared at the troop of over 1,000 world deities in front of him. A first-grade legion was famous, and even a single team of them was extremely terrifying. However, Monarch Wuxia was also an overlord. "Monarch?" The commander was somewhat hesitant. If the order had been to deal with Monarch Wuxia, they would have long since acted. However, they were only here to capture the venomous Ying world deity. "My place will not tolerate your impudence." The sloppy man was currently emitting a powerful aura that far surpassed that of the distant sun star. Of course, this was also because the sun star was simply too far away. Every part of the sloppy man's body, including his eyes, skin, eyebrows, and many other parts, was covered in violet flames. "Spread out and capture venomous Ying." The commander felt that he could not delay any longer and immediately gave the order. "Yes." So. All the soldiers dispersed, charging toward the heavenly cloud mountain in different directions. The commander, on the other hand, charged directly at the sloppy man. Although the commander was only a stage 3 world deity, his divine body had been modified before. After donning the armor, and with the army formation of over 1,000 subordinates, he was able to unleash the fighting power of a stage 4 world deity. Small sword world. Seeing so many soldiers charge toward the heavenly cloud mountain, the sloppy man frowned. Shwa 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 shwa. Countless sword lights flew out from the heavenly cloud mountain, covering the sky and earth. They had already formed a system of their own, completely enveloping all the soldiers. Their terrifying might was unstoppable, and the soldiers were unable to evade them at all. Each and every one of them was pierced by those sword lights. However, the defense of a first-grade legion was extremely tyrannical. Even with 10 teams, not even powerful existences could kill a single one of them. At present, a large-scale attack would not be able to harm these soldiers. "Monarch Wuxia, you've gone too far." The commander furiously charged over. The sloppy man, however, turned around and left. With a single step, he pierced through the void and disappeared. His voice reverberated through the void. "You dared to barge into my heavenly cloud mountain. As for Venomous Ying, she was indeed with me, but you all came too late." Venomous Ying had already left. The Bloodshed God Palace team immediately descended upon the heavenly cloud mountain to search for her, but naturally they could not find her. Inside the belly of the heavenly cloud mountain, within the enormous pool, there was a strange, bright-colored red flower. There were countless human faces on the flower. The sloppy man stood by the side of the pond, carefully observing it before nodding. The remnant of the myriad poison record is truly extraordinary. This floating realm flower has actually grown. The floating realm flower contains the laws of the world, forming a world of its own. The moment it grows is when the laws evolve. I hope that by watching it evolve, I will be able to truly comprehend it and take the final step. He had never left the belly of the mountain. The one who had gone to battle had been his avatar. The one who had brought Venomous Ying away had been his world deity avatar. He had sent Venomous Ying to an old friend for protection, which could be considered as fulfilling his promise. The floating realm flower and the remnant of the myriad poison record, the sword world scripture, and the inferno hell world body. I only need to succeed in one of these 3 paths to transcend. The sloppy man's eyes were filled with fervent anticipation. However, the majority of stage 4 world deities were like him, seeking to transcend eternity. It was a pity that it was difficult. After returning from the temporal temple, Dongbu Shuiying did not have the time to properly inspect the storage treasures left behind by the venomous Ying world deity before he met his big brother, the White Sand City Lord. He naturally had to entertain him. The two had just chatted for an hour when a piece of news arrived. The news Dongbu Shuiying received came from his junior brothers and sisters over at the Bloodshed God Palace. The venomous Ying world deity was unwilling to go to the Bloodshed God Palace to be interrogated. She had fled when they tried to capture her, and as a result her rank had been stripped and she was now wanted. The third watch was over. Chapter 515. Wanted for arrest? The White Sand City Lord slowly poured wine for Dongbu Shuiying, then for himself. Only after he was done did he say, "Brother Dongbu, what exactly did you do? How did you get the Bloodshed God Palace to send out an army to capture venomous Ying? You should know that the Bloodshed God Palace usually dispatches an army with concrete evidence, and only after the officials in charge of the matter have passed the report will the order be issued." Dongbu Shuiying smiled mysteriously. "Of course I have concrete evidence. I went to the Temporal Temple to investigate the most recent collection of faith energy from all the planets in the White Yang starfield." Ruthless enough. "How many deity crystals?" the White Sand City Lord asked. 30 million. Dongbu Shuiying felt his heart ache. "It's you?" the White Sand City Lord sighed. "The nest of myriad devils is responsible for collecting faith energy across 32 starfields over a long period of time. Your evidence is only from a single starfield, and it was collected in the last 10,000 years. Usually, such a small amount of embezzlement would not warrant the dispatch of a first-class army. Venomous Ying has the face of her brother, so the officials would not be too harsh. Most of the time, they would first issue an order to reprimand her. Venomous Ying would then find a scapegoat and say that it was her subordinate's embezzlement. She would then pay several times the fine. That would usually cover up the matter. It's a pity that the one who acted this time was Your Highness Dongbu. Those officials did not hesitate to stand by your side, so they would definitely send an army to capture you." The White Sand City Lord shook his head. Venomous Ying was so frightened that she ran away, not daring to go to the Bloodshed God Palace. Dongbu Shuiying said, "She has a guilty conscience." How many of the various powers are truly clean? If they were truly clean, would they be able to support so many subordinates? The White Sand City Lord asked. "I know, but it's rare to see someone as greedy as Venomous Ying." Dongbu Shuiying said, "My Sea Prefecture's eastern region is collecting faith energy as a whole, while the nest of myriad devils is responsible for 32 starfields." The White Sand City Lord nodded. "That's true. The other powers do not have a strong background in the Bloodshed God Palace, so they would not dare to be too unsightly. Usually they would be a little greedier. For example, they would be greedy for 20% of it. Venomous Ying is even more vicious. She left a loophole on her own, and I have the right to supervise her. No one can say that I'm wrong to deal with her like this. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for courting death." Dongbu Shuiying said casually. This time, it was Imperial Monarch Wuxia who protected her. Otherwise, with her own strength, how could she have escaped from the army? But she's no longer a concern. The White Sand City Lord drank his wine. Since she's wanted by the Bloodshed God Palace, she has to be careful at all times. She doesn't dare enter the territory of the Bloodshed God Palace. After all, without her rank, anyone can kill her. Dongbu Shuiying nodded. Now that Venomous Ying was carefully fleeing in all directions, it would be difficult to track her down. However, it was nothing to worry about. His strength would increase rapidly when he was weak. Of course, it would take him a long time in the future. The amount of time required to advance from Stage 3 to Stage 4 world deities was much longer, and the distance between Stage 4 world deities and powerful existences was even greater. Many geniuses had been obstructed at this step. However, as long as he became a Stage 3 world deity, coupled with his absolute arts, he would be able to move unhindered. When that time came, he would just have to pay some attention to Venomous Ying and find an opportunity to get rid of her. In truth, Dongbu Shuiying no longer cared about her. He was more concerned about the eternal Wind Knight, Qiu Bai, who had guided him into becoming a transcendent. Qiu Bai had always taken good care of him, and the two of them had an extremely good relationship. When Qiu Bai died, Dongbu Shuiying had also felt terrible. However, he lacked the strength to enter the Dark Abyss. The deity world and the Dark Abyss were enemies. Only powerful existences might have some friendship with each other, but at the world deity level they would kill each other countless times. The great demon god did not care about Dongbu Shuiying's identity. Whenever they saw a guest from the deity world, they would definitely think of a way to kill or capture them alive to conduct all sorts of bloody experiments. It must be known that the will of the abyss would reward these abyssal life forms for killing outsiders. The will of the material world cared for and protected them. Living in the material world, even the Blood Blade and the others would have their long-range killing abilities greatly reduced. Without an oath, they could at most kill a Stage 2 world deity with a thought. If they were in the deity world or the dark abyss, the Blood Blade and the others would be many times more powerful. As for the will of the abyss, it was all about killing, devouring, bloodshed, and darkness. The more abyssal life forms killed, especially those from the deity world or the material world, the more they would be rewarded by the will of the abyss. As such, without sufficient strength, the moment one entered, they would only be surrounded and attacked. Once I reach the peak of Stage 4 world deity level, I will be able to give it a try. At that time, any abyss sovereign will no longer be able to kill me. Dongbo Shuang thought. The sovereigns of any layer of the dark abyss were all Stage 4 world deities at the very least. Eternal Wind, I hope that you can hold on for a little longer. Given the methods of the great demon god, he will most likely torture you for a long time. As he thought of this, Dongbo Shuang felt his heart ache. He felt helpless. For the sake of saving Eternal Wind, he actually hoped that the great demon god would torture and imprison Qiu Bai for a little longer. How laughable was that? Within a chain of black palaces, countless beauties were walking about. One of the more remote courtyards was where the venomous Ying world deity lived. The venomous Ying world deity looked at the endless starry sky in the direction of the territory of the bloodshed god palace. Damn it. If I could have forced Dongbo Shuang to self-detonate back then, preventing him from participating in the myriad flower feast, that would have been great. Even though I would have to bear some responsibility for forcing him to his death, I wasn't the one who killed him. But I wasn't the one who killed him. He was the one who killed himself. The venomous Ying world deity felt as if countless ants were gnawing at her heart. If he hadn't participated in the myriad flower feast, he wouldn't have been able to become a disciple of his god emperor, and he wouldn't have risen so quickly. Furthermore, he even has an absolute art. A Stage 2 world deity was actually able to suppress me. The venomous Ying world deity was filled with envy and unwillingness. The myriad poison record she had obtained through a fortuitous encounter would have been considered an absolute art if she had been in its complete form. The difference between an incomplete and a complete version was simply too great. Take the secret techniques of the sealed world pagoda for example. Every single one of them could be considered a fragment of an absolute art. It's too late for regrets. Too late. The venomous Ying world deity looked in the direction of the territory of the bloodshed god palace. No matter how ruthless or cruel she was at this moment, all she felt was helplessness. She was clear. That brat she had never placed in her eyes was now someone she could only look up to. Furthermore, she believed that he would continue to grow at a terrifying rate. In the future, becoming an overlord of the deity world would be a simple matter. He was an existence she could not shake. As time passed, the gap between them would only grow wider and wider. If I could become a Stage 4 world deity. The venomous Ying world deity gritted her teeth. The pride in her heart allowed her to hold on to a strand of hope. Time was merciless. The world of the Xia people was changing rapidly. More transcendents were born and the population was multiplying. It was now common for transcendents to enter the Crimson Rock Mountain world to train. After all, there was no longer any need to hide the fact that Dongbo Shuang was in control of the Crimson Rock Mountain. After all, he had already become the personal disciple of His Majesty. How could he not be in control of the Crimson Rock Mountain? The deity world and the dark abyss had not changed at all. After all, 30,000 years was a very short period of time even for an ordinary deity. And during these 30,000 years, Dongbo Shuiying's influence in the Calm Sea Prefecture grew. People like the White Sand City Lord, General Wu, and King Xia would come to visit him and even spar with him. Everyone knew that Dongbo Shuiying would soon become a Stage 3 world deity. At that time, his strength would most likely be even more terrifying. Naturally, Dongbo Shuiying's influence would also grow. Even Dongbo Yu and Dongbo Qingyao had become disciples of the top powers in the entire Calm Sea Prefecture. Even the second prince and the others under the Calm Sea Prefecture master would have to treat Dongbo Yu and the others politely. As for Dongbo Shuiying, he was no longer on the same level as the second prince and the others. The more Dongbo Yu and Dongbo Qingyao interacted with each other, the wider their horizons became. They soon discovered that deities were extremely rare even among the disciples of the major powers. That was because deities had a short lifespan, and those who could live for a long time were all world deities. The two of them were also very diligent in their cultivation. They had inherited their parents' innate talents and had long since reached the peak of the deity realm. However, it was not so easy for them to become world deities. There was another reason for this. Dongbu Shuiying and Jing Qiu had not allowed their children to absorb faith stones. The two of them had long since discussed that they would not allow their children to absorb faith stones for 10 million years. If they could not become world deities within 10 million years, then they would absorb faith stones. Chapter 516. Kamsi Prefecture, East Region City. In a luxurious restaurant, there was a man in a green robe and a man in a gray robe who were eating and drinking casually. Moreover, they were looking outside through the window. With their eyesight as universe gods, although they were quite far away, they could still clearly see the main entrance of the supervisor's mansion, which was the most eye-catching one. Sir, that Shangyi has changed his appearance to become Dongbu Shuiying's disciple by Li Shang. Now that we've confirmed it, what should we do? Should we find an opportunity to kill him? The gray-robed man asked. While the two were conversing, their surroundings were also shielded from all probing, so they were not afraid of anyone eavesdropping. The green-robed man frowned as he watched from afar. Back when the ruins collapsed, a large number of world deities fled in all directions. No one knows which world deity obtained that supreme treasure. Furthermore, all of them were frightened and became extremely cautious. Monarch Tsang tried his best to find a few of them, even going all out through karma. Although he managed to find them one by one, out of the 395 world deities we've found so far, not a single one of them has a supreme treasure. Although we've already found another world deity, who knows if this Shangyi has a supreme treasure or not. After all, many world deities had failed. Monarch Tsang Yong even suspected that there was no supreme treasure within the ruins. However, the large number of other treasures and evidence he had obtained pointed to one thing: the most important supreme treasure was within the ruins. This was also the reason why Monarch Tsang Yong had spared no expense in searching for world deities. The green-robed man shook his head. If he was hiding alone, we could have easily captured him. But now he has joined Dongbu Shuiying's faction. Furthermore, he is one of the commanders of his personal guard. We want to capture a commander of his personal guard, but how could Dongbu Shuiying allow us to do so? Monarch Tsang Yong is afraid of Dongbu Shuiying? The gray-robed man could not help but ask. Monarch Tsang Yong is naturally not afraid of Dongbu Shuiying. However, there is no need for him to do so, nor is he willing to make an enemy out of him. The green-robed man glanced at the gray-robed man. Dongbu Shuiying is not someone to be trifled with. After all, he is the personal disciple of Blood Blade. He possesses a legendary absolute art. Even I would not be a match for Dongbu Shuiying. In the future, he will become a terrifying existence that even the monarch would not wish to offend. If he were to become a Stage 4 world deity, he would definitely dominate all Stage 4 world deities. The gray-robed man nodded. What should we do? He is, after all, one of his personal guards. If he was just an idle guest, Dongbu Shuiying wouldn't have gone overboard in protecting him. But he will definitely protect the commander of the personal guards. The green-robed man pondered and his voice became cold. However, the monarch has already paid a huge price for the relic treasure. No matter what, we have to screen every single one of the universe gods who escaped back then. We cannot let any of them go. Yes. The gray-robed man suddenly said, Look, Shangyi has returned to the supervisor envoy's estate. King Commander Flying Commander, Commander Bye-Bye and Robed Man said with Commander Commander, Commander 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 Commander, Robed Commander, Commander In and King King Commander Long by Emperor De Commander, High Emperor, and 1. Shangyi can be considered quite handsome. The green-robed man shook his head. He sure is cautious. The world deities who had escaped were all cautious, so Monarch Tsang Yong had a hard time finding them. In the end, Monarch Tsang Yong had to rely on karma to track them down. However, Monarch Tsang Yong himself had not grasped the karma deity heart. Those who absorbed the power of faith and were bound by karma found it hard to grasp the karma deity heart. Thus, they had to rely on the karma between themselves and these world deities to search for Shangyi in the vast deity world. Alright, you can all disperse. I will be going into seclusion for a period of time. If there's nothing important, you guys can do as you see fit, Bai Li Shang casually ordered after returning to his cave dwelling. Yes, Commander. The soldiers also laughed and dispersed. Due to Dongbu Shuiying's growing influence, The various powers of the Kamsi Prefecture Eastern region were all very obedient. Even those with strong backgrounds and connections did not dare to take too much faith from him. In their words, Dongbu Shui Ying's cultivation speed is astonishing. It won't be long before he becomes even stronger. His Majesty, God Emperor, will probably give him a promotion. While he's still a supervisor, it's best not to provoke him. Thus, be it the personal guard or the supervisor army, they were all very relaxed. Life is indeed very leisurely. Bai Li Shang quickly entered his cultivation room. Distorting space-time, he shielded himself from probing. He then took out a wooden box and opened it. Inside the wooden box was a black sphere with uneven patterns. Bai Li Shang gently caressed the black sphere. The black sphere slowly lit up, and the uneven patterns began to emit light, illuminating the surrounding space. The complex three-dimensional pattern was still as mysterious and unfathomable as ever. This was the most complex and mysterious pattern Bai Li Shang had ever seen in his life. Even some of the arrays in the prefecture city could not compare to it. Monarch Cangyong risked his life and paid such a huge price, sending so many world deities to their deaths, all for you. Bai Li Shang caressed the black sphere, his eyes filled with anxiety. But what secret do you have? What is it? An absolute art? A powerful and unique treasure? It had been more than 30,000 years. He had tried all sorts of methods, refining methods, sensing methods, and even using brute force to gradually increase his strength. However, he could not shake the black sphere in the slightest. It simply stood there, unbreakable, unshakable, and unrefined. Other than the incomparably mysterious three-dimensional pattern that appeared when world deity energy was poured into it, there was nothing else it could do. I can feel that something is wrong. Bai Li Shang grew anxious. What exactly is wrong? What secret do you have? The treasure was in his hands, but he was unable to unravel its mysteries. Bai Li Shang was also anxious. Within the supervisor residence, only the front part of the residence was occupied by the personal guard army. The wider area behind it was occupied by Dongbu Shui Ying's family, as well as the cultivation grounds. In a dark and sealed underground hall, Dongbu Shui Ying was sitting cross-legged by himself. Rumble, countless scenes appeared around him. The world was collapsing, the chaos hole was collapsing, and the extremity was faintly visible. There were also scenes of flowers and grass withering, scenes of flying insects and beasts turning into skeletons, and scenes of raging flames turning the entire forest into ashes. Countless scenes appeared. The surroundings of these scenes were rippling with a horrifying intent of destruction. World, chaos, hole, extremity. These three were the three stages of the great destruction of the laws of heaven and earth. Dongbu Shui Ying was continuously pursuing his most powerful killing move, the spear technique, destruction, to become even more perfect. He also wanted to use this opportunity to comprehend the extremity deity heart. Extremity. When he was young, Dongbu Shui Ying was the first to comprehend the true meaning of extreme piercing. Now that he had comprehended the world deity heart and the chaotic deity heart, the extremity deity heart was the slowest. This was because the extreme piercing and the extremity deity heart were worlds apart. In fact, they were completely different directions. Extreme piercing was an extreme path. The extremity deity heart, on the other hand, was an absolute unity and balance. It was the beginning and the end of everything. He had long understood this point. It was just that the beginning and the end of everything in the laws of heaven and earth, that incomparably mysterious one, was extremely hard to grasp. After comprehending the spear technique destruction for so many years, in addition to his deep foundation in the aspect of extremity, Dongbu Shui Ying had long grasped that layer of muslin. It was just a layer of muslin, but he was unable to grasp it no matter what. I can feel myself getting closer and closer to it. Dongbu Shui Ying smiled faintly, and the countless scenes of destruction around him dissipated. There's no need to rush. Everything will come naturally. He then stood up. Dongbu Shui Ying walked out of the underground hall and walked up the stairs. Soon he arrived outside. The door opened and Dongbu Shui Ying walked out. This hall was a secret place where Dongbu Shui Ying trained. Without his permission, no one was allowed to enter. Normally, he would only bring his wife and children inside to guide them in their cultivation. The moment he walked out, an attendant respectfully said, "Your Highness, a guest has come to visit. He has been waiting for 2 days." Chapter 517. 2 days. Dongbu Shui Ying nodded. When he was in closed-door cultivation, it was forbidden to disturb him unless it was absolutely important. Who is it? It's His Highness Long Yu and an unfamiliar stage 3 world deity, the attendant said respectfully. His Highness Long Yu? Bring me over, Dongbua Shuiying ordered. Within the palace hall, Dongbua Shuiying and his wife, Jing Qiu, received the two guests together. His Highness Long Yu, you're a rare guest. The last time we met was during the Myriad Flower Feast. In the blink of an eye, 30,000 years have passed. Dongbua Shuiying looked at the luxuriously dressed black-robed teenager. This black-robed teenager was the second prince of the Calm Sea Prefecture Master's Long clan. He was also the host of that banquet, which had caused enmity between Dongbua Shuiying and the venomous Ying world deity. Brother Dongbua, you can just call me Long Yu. In front of Brother Dongbua, how would I dare to address myself as Your Highness? Long Yu hurriedly said. Although he was favored by the prefecture master, he had remained a stage 1 world deity for many years. He had relied on his connections to maintain his influence, while Dongbua Shuiying had relied on his personal strength. Even the Calm Sea Prefecture Master did not dare to slight him, so how could Long Yu dare to be disrespectful? Furthermore, Long Yu was feeling rather complicated. During the banquet, Dongbua Shuiying had only been a deity, at least on the surface. In the blink of an eye, his status had undergone a heaven-toppling transformation, to the point where he was now ranked within the top 3 of the Calm Sea Prefecture. I've only come today to help introduce you. Long Yu smiled at the green-robed man beside him. This is Mao Xiao, a subordinate of my father's good friend Monarch Zhang. World deity Mao Xiao? Dongbua Shuiying nodded. The green-robed man humbly said, This Mao Xiao has come under orders, but I've never met Your Highness before. I hope that Your Highness can introduce me. Under orders? Dongbua Shuiying was astonished. Sitting beside Dongbua Shuiying, Jing Qiu was also looking down curiously. You came under orders from Monarch Zhang? Asked Jing Qiu, who was sitting beside Dongbua Shuiying, curiously. Yes, I have come here on the orders of the monarch, said the green-robed man. A large amount of information regarding Monarch Zhang immediately surfaced in Dongbua Shuiying's mind. Monarch Zhang was also a stage 4 world deity. However, he was different from Monarch Mo Shui, who had lived for far too long and could have his true deity heart crumble at any moment. Monarch Zhang was still very young and had friends from all over the world. Such a young stage 4 world deity was something most powers would not be willing to offend. This was because they could still live for a long time, and their chances of becoming almighty beings were greater. People like Monarch Mo Shui and the Calm Sea Prefecture Master might be able to grow stronger with time, but their potential had long since been exhausted. The chances of them becoming powerful existences were extremely slim. I have never met Monarch Zhang before, so why did he send you here to see me? Dongbua Shuiying asked. Monarch Zhang originally wanted to come personally. However, he is currently tied up by some matters, so he is unable to come. I hope that Your Highness can forgive me. The green-robed man lowered his posture. I have indeed come here to trouble Your Highness with something. Please speak. Dongbua Shuiying lifted his wine cup and took a sip. The green-robed man said, There is a stage 2 world deity by the name of world deity Shang. He has a grudge against my monarch. Monarch Zhang has never forgotten this grudge. However, world deity Shang carries a treasure that can confuse space-time, making it very difficult to track him down. However, Monarch Zhang still spared no effort to use karma to track him down. In the end, he still managed to find this world deity Shang. Long Yu, who was standing to the side, exclaimed, Using karma to track him down? It seems that Monarch Zhang hates this world deity Shang to the core. Yes. The green-robed man nodded. We found world deity Shang-Yi's whereabouts, so we came to see Your Highness Dongbua. See me? I don't know any world deity Shang-Yi, Dongbua Shuiying said. World deity Shang-Yi knows that Monarch Zhang is incomparably furious, so he has been extremely careful in hiding his tracks. He has long since changed his appearance, using the pseudonym of Bai Li Shang to seek refuge under Your Highness's tutelage, becoming one of the commanders of Your Highness's personal guard, the green-robed man said. Commander Bai Li? The expressions of both Dongbua Shuiying and Jing Qiu changed slightly. The commander of his personal guard had a grudge against Monarch Zhang? If he had sought refuge under some other power, we would have long since made our move. However, since he has sought refuge under Your Highness, we naturally have to inform Your Highness first, the green-robed man said. Our Monarch Zhang has been searching for enemies for tens of thousands of years. In the end, he even used karma to find him. We hope that Your Highness can make things convenient and expel him from your personal guard. Making a move against the commander of Dongbu Shui Ying's personal guard was the same as slapping Dongbu Shui Ying's face. Even Monarch Yong would have to think twice before making such a move. After all, Monarch Yong still did not know who possessed the relic. Had he known that it was with Bai Li Shang, he would have long since disregarded everything else. I wonder what kind of grudge the Monarch Yong has against Bai Li Shang, Dongbu Shuiying said with a frown. This is a personal grudge and the Monarch Yong did not tell me about it, the green-robed man said. However, the Monarch Yong's killing intent is extremely strong, and he is willing to pay any price to kill Shang Yi. Furthermore, Shang Yi's feelings for your highness aren't sincere. He intentionally used a fake name and submitted to your highness in order to preserve his life. Dongbu Shuiying frowned. Even if he used a fake name, he has been diligent and conscientious as the commander of the personal guard for the past 30,000 years. He has never made any mistakes. Your highness, you only need to expel him from your personal guard, the green-robed man said. Our monarch will naturally remember your highness's favor and will definitely repay it in the future. Dongbu Shuiying shook his head. Bai Li Shang is a stage 2 world deity, while your monarch is an overlord. Did he form a grudge with your monarch? How did they form a grudge? The monarch did not say. The green-robed man felt helpless. If you clearly explain the grudge between the two sides, I will look for Commander Bai Li to interrogate him. If there is no mistake and he is indeed a treacherous person, I will expel him from my personal guard. Dongbu Shuiying said indifferently. But if Commander Bai Li is innocent and has always been pursued, and he is innocent, how can I just watch him die? The green-robed man's expression changed. He was just a commander under him. After so many years, Dongbu Shuiying had 4 commanders under him, as well as a few mercenaries, and more than 10 stage 2 world deities. Was there really a need for him to go against his own master, Monarch Yong, for a mere stage 2 world deity? Your highness, are you not willing to expel him from your personal guard? The green-robed man frowned. Are you forcing me? Dongbu Shuiying's gaze turned cold. The green-robed man said in a low voice, I am not forcing you, your highness. It is just that my monarch will definitely not spare that world deity Shang Yi. But no one can touch my people. Dongbu Shuiying said coldly. Men, send our guest off, please. The 2 world deity guards outside the palace immediately shouted. They felt delighted. His highness was protecting his subordinates, which naturally made them feel comfortable. The green-robed man's expression turned ugly as he stood up. There's no need. There's no need. Let's just talk things out, Long Yu said from the side. Long Yu, this has nothing to do with you. Dongbu Shuiying glanced at the green-robed man. Talk things out with me and I will give you face. You want to use Monarch Yong to pressure me? What a joke. The green-robed man suppressed his anger, cupped his hands and turned to leave. Long Yu also explained, Brother Dongbu, I was just introducing you. I didn't expect things to turn out this way. However, Brother Dongbu, you must be careful. From the looks of it, Monarch Yong's desire to kill your subordinate, Commander Bai Li, is quite heavy. I'm afraid that the enmity between them is not small. Thank you, Dongbu Shuiying said with a smile, even though he had treated the green-robed man coldly. I'll take my leave as well. Long Yu immediately chased after him. Inside the hall, Dongbu Shuiying frowned. Jingqiu Monarch Yong is a stage 4 world deity, an overlord of the deity world. He has enmity with Bai Li Shang? And he's not even willing to talk about it? If he makes up a story, it'll be easily seen through, Jingqiu said. If he doesn't want to talk about it, he probably has other secrets that he doesn't want to make public. Furthermore, stage 4 world deities have extraordinary foresight and temperament, so there's no need for them to bicker with a weakling. Monarch Yong has 3 children, and I've never heard of any of them being in danger. For the time being, I can't think of any reason for the enmity between the 2 of them. Dongbu Shuiying nodded. This was also something that puzzled him. Without understanding the enmity between the 2 of them, how could he possibly send his subordinate to his death? By expelling Bai Li Shang from his personal guard, he was basically sending him to his death. Men, Dongbu Shuiying said. Your Highness, the guards outside acknowledged the order. Tell Commander Bai Li to come see me, Dongbu Shuiying ordered. Chapter 518. Bai Li Shang was currently in the cultivation room, pondering over the black sphere in his hand. The uneven patterns on the black sphere were emitting light, illuminating the surroundings. How do I break it? What exactly is the secret? Bai Li Shang was racking his brains. He was clear that this was his greatest harvest, his most important fortuitous encounter. If he could unravel the secret within, his fate would most likely be different. It was just that with the relic in his hand, Bai Li Shang could not unravel it. Suddenly a voice came from outside. Commander Bai Li, Commander Bai Li. This cultivation room array could transmit sounds from the outside, but not from within. Bai Li Shang frowned. He immediately kept the black sphere in the wooden box before opening the stone door and exiting the cultivation room. What's going on? Didn't I say not to disturb me if there's nothing important? Bai Li Shang swept his gaze around and immediately saw a world deity guard outside. He could recognize that this world deity guard was usually in charge of guarding the hall. The world deity guard chuckled. Commander Bai Li, His Highness has ordered for you to meet him immediately. His Highness? Bai Li Shang was startled. Alright, I'll head over now. Bai Li Shang rushed towards the hall with a confused look on his face. He had been under Dongbu Shuiying for so many years, and he had never been forcefully summoned to meet him while he was in closed-door cultivation. After all, after dealing with the venomous Ying world deity, no one dared to offend the supervisor envoy residence. The supervisor envoy residence had always been peaceful. He entered the hall. Bai Li Shang saw Dongbu Shuiying and Yu Jingqiu seated on the main seats. Greetings to His Highness and Madam, Bai Li Shang said respectfully. Commander Bai Li, should I address you as world deity Shangyi? Dongbu Shuiying suddenly said. Bai Li Shang was startled. Shangyi? Was he discovered? Was he exposed? The relic was still with him. Would this Dongbu Shuiying snatch it away? As soon as his identity was exposed, his expression changed. He looked at Dongbu Shuiying with a hint of panic in his eyes, but he quickly regained his composure. Dongbu Shuiying's strength far surpasses mine, and this is the supervisor manor, his territory. The mansion was also reinforced by countless arrays. In front of him, I had no way of fighting back. Let him do whatever he wants. My life and death are already in his hands. If that's the case, what's the point of being anxious? Bai Li Shang understood that there was no point in struggling. Hence he stopped struggling. Soon after, he understood. No one knows that I have the relic. If he really knew that I have the relic, he would have attacked me long ago. They don't know how to talk nonsense. Shock, anger, panic, powerlessness, calmness, and rationality. All of this happened extremely quickly. Does His Highness know about it? Bai Li Shang raised his head and asked. Yeah. Dongbu Shuiying nodded. You should just tell me honestly. Bai Li Shang was certain that Dongbu Shuiying did not know. Furthermore, he would not reveal his most important secret until the very last moment. He immediately asked, Your Highness, how did you know my identity? Did Monarch Songyong send someone over? Bai Li Shang was also very intelligent, so he immediately made a guess. What kind of enmity do you have with Monarch Songyong? Shuiying asked. Just now, Bai Li Shang's sudden panic had caused both him and Jingqiu to feel a strand of suspicion. I'm just a weak world deity. How could I have the qualifications to offend Monarch Songyong? Monarch Songyong is simply too vicious and merciless, Bai Li Shang said helplessly. He captured a group of world deities like me and forced us to enter a relic to our deaths. After the relic collapsed, many of the world deities fled in all directions. I also took the opportunity to escape, and only then did I regain my freedom. However, I never expected that Monarch Songyong would still chase after me. Your Highness, Your Highness. Bai Li Shang looked at Dongbu Shuiying and pleaded, Please protect my life, Your Highness. Without Your Highness's protection, I'm afraid that I will die without a doubt. Dongbu Shuiying and Jingqiu exchanged glances. Relic? The deity world is vast and there are many world deities. If you all escape, then so be it. Why would he go all out to use karma to track you all down? Dongbu Shuiying frowned. What do you all have that he would go all out to chase after you? Karma? Only now did Bai Li Shang understand how Monarch Songyong was pursuing them. Karma was a very mysterious thing. Even powerful existences who had transcended the river of time and become truly eternal could still produce karma. For example, when Dongbu Shuiying and the others called out the names of powerful existences, the powerful existences would be able to sense it through karma. It was also because of their realm that they could be so sensitive to karma. Ordinary stage 4 world deities who had yet to transcend would not be able to sense karma to such a degree. Let me ask you something. What do you all have that he would chase after you all? Dongbu Shuiying asked. Bai Li Shang's heart tightened. I'm not too sure about that, Bai Li Shang said helplessly. My guess is that it's because we know his secret. Secret? Dongbu Shuiying asked. That relic, Bai Li Shang waved his hand, causing a complicated diagram to appear in midair. This is a star chart that records the location of the relic. Originally we did not know where it was. It was only after the relic collapsed and we escaped that we found out its exact location. Although the relic has collapsed, it is still very large. My guess is that there are some things that cannot be revealed? Dongbu Shuang looked at Bai Li Shang. Just because of the relic? I can't think of any other reason, Bai Li Shang replied. Dongbu Shuang nodded his head lightly, then instructed, Commander Bai Li, from today onwards, you will stay in the Supervisor Envoy's residence. Monarch Songyong's subordinates are keeping watch outside. If you go out, you might die at any moment. Bai Li Shang was panicking. If you have a clone, it would be best for you to separate from your main body, Dongbu Shuang instructed. What is this Dongbu Shuang trying to do? Does he know that my clone is here as well? Bai Li Shang thought to himself. His main body and clone were both in the Supervisor Envoy's residence because he only had one treasure that could distort space. With this treasure he was confident that he could conceal himself. If his clone were to be captured by Monarch Songyong, Monarch Songyong had plenty of ways to make it impossible for him to even commit suicide. He even had the means to search through his memories. Thank you, Your Highness. I will be careful, Bai Li Shang replied. Go, Dongbu Shuang said. Bai Li Shang respectfully retreated. Only Dongbu Shuang and Yu Jingqiu were left in the hall. The relic he mentioned shouldn't be false. It's unlikely that he would make up such a story. However, he said too little about it. Although he did provide a star map, he didn't go into detail, Dongbu Shuang said with a frown. Jingqiu chuckled. You're overthinking things. It's not like you asked him in detail. Perhaps. Dongbu Shuang nodded. However, Snow Eagle, you should have your personal guard increase their patrols. I don't think Monarch Songyong will give up so easily, Jingqiu said. In the deity world, in the vast Songyong Empire. This enormous empire had been single-handedly created by Monarch Songyong, so it was only natural that his authority would reach the heavens. His will was the will of this empire. This was also the reason why so many experts were unwilling to stay in the Bloodshed God Palace, the Temporal Island, or the Myriad God Palace. Depending on someone else meant that they would have to abide by the rules and restrictions. Even killing a Stage 3 world deity would have to be restricted. How troublesome would that be? Monarch. The green-robed world deity Mao Xiao respectfully bowed. There was a tall figure sitting on the high and mighty white throne. There were huge bone spurs protruding from his back, and a row of bones formed a fan behind him. His head was completely bald, and there was not a single strand of hair on his face. His eyes were filled with indifference. From his appearance, it was easy to tell that he was not of human origin. Dongbu Shuang is determined to protect his personal guard. He said that if he doesn't clarify the enmity between us and world deity Shang-Yi, or if he doesn't confirm the truth, he won't expel him, the green-robed man respectfully said. This Dongbu Shuang. Monarch Songyong's slender fingers lightly stroked the armrest of his throne. He's currently in high spirits, so how could he not protect his personal guard? However, since I've already mentioned it in advance, I've already given him face. Since he refuses, he can't blame me. World deity Shintu. Wah. A figure walked out from the void to the side. He was wrapped in a black robe and even his facial features were blurry. World deity Shintu Dongbu Shuang is extremely powerful. I'm afraid that sending other world deities might not be enough, so I'll let you act, Monarch Songyong calmly said. I have no intention of becoming enemies with Dongbu Shuang, so you can act in secret and kill Shang-Yi. Yes, the black-robed man respectfully replied. Chapter 519. What do I do if Monarch Songyong comes looking for me? After returning to his cave residence, Bai Li Shang dismissed his attendants. Monarch Songyong is vicious and merciless. He's already found Dongbu Shuang. He probably doesn't want to offend Dongbu Shuang, which is why he decided to meet him. Fortunately, Dongbu Shuang didn't agree so easily. But with Monarch Songyong keeping an eye on me, what can I do? And I still have to be careful of Dongbu Shuang. If he notices that something is wrong, he might make a move on me, Bai Li Shang thought. He was afraid of Monarch Songyong, and also afraid of Dongbu Shuang stealing the treasure. Damn it. I've been hiding so carefully, but Monarch Songyong still chased after me. Bai Li Shang was furious. And even now, I haven't been able to uncover the mysteries of the relic. Days passed. Bai Li Shang was also very cautious, almost never leaving his cave residence. Even if he did, it would be within the supervisor envoy's residence. Not to mention him, even Dongbua Shuiying had sent his personal guards to strengthen their patrols and investigations, but they still couldn't find Monarch Songyong's men. In the blink of an eye, more than a month passed. The commander has been acting strange recently. He's either in seclusion or alone. Even we aren't allowed to approach him. The two maids secretly discussed with each other through voice transmissions. Not far away there was another red-robed maid watching silently. This red-robed maid turned around and walked to a dark corner. At this time, a shadowy mist began to seep out from her pores, mouth and nose. This gray mist flashed and seeped into the shadows of the corridor, disappearing without a trace. The shadow deity heart. On the surface it was only a grade 2 deity heart, but it was very famous. This was because the Blood Blade, who was publicly recognized as the strongest in head-on combat in the deity world, was most famous for its three major techniques: Shadow, Destruction, and Blood Blade. The Shadow technique made Blood Blade extremely proficient in assassination, and it was known as the #1 assassin in both the deity world and the Dark Abyss. Because of this, Blood Blade had built countless Blood Blade taverns to serve assassins. Since the Blood Blade had reached an unimaginable level in Shadow, he naturally had a secret technique that he could pass on to others. It was just that it was very difficult to cultivate. The reason why World Deity Shintu had been sent to carry out the assassination was because he had cultivated the World Deity Grade secret technique, Boundless Shadow, to an extremely high level and had become a super assassin. Goo goo goo. In the hall. Bai Li Shang picked up the wine pot and drank a few mouthfuls. His eyes were filled with hostility. His clone was hiding in the quiet room, but his main body was here. The surrounding space was distorted, making it difficult to probe. When will these days end? Bai Li Shang's eyes were filled with anger. Let's wait and endure. If Dongbua Shuiying becomes stronger and is able to fight against stage 4 world deities, then we will have to wait and see. I'm afraid I don't have to worry. After all, even if Monarch Songyong personally comes, Dongbua Shuiying will still be in his own territory. The arrays of the entire eastern region city will be supporting him, and he will definitely be able to fight against Monarch Songyong. However, the current Dongbua Shuiying is still too weak. He can't fight against Monarch Songyong. Bai Li Shang continued to ponder, but he was unable to come up with any good ideas. Actually, there were other ways. For example, if he offered the relic to Dongbua Shuiying would most likely do his best to help him. For example, he could even send him to live in the Bloodshed God Palace. As long as he stayed in the territory of the God Emperor, he would be absolutely safe. However, Bai Li Shang was unwilling to do so. After all, this relic was the greatest opportunity of his life. I'll just have to wait. Dongbua Shuiying's combat power is growing very quickly, Bai Li Shang thought. Phew. Suddenly, a gray fog began to appear in the shadows cast by the distant sunlight. It rapidly condensed into the shape of a person wearing a black robe. Bai Li Shang was so frightened that his face paled. He immediately recognized who it was. Shintu. World deity Shintu was Monarch Songyong's most ferocious lackey who specialized in assassination. He's in your hands, right? A pair of green eyes stared at Bai Li Shang from beneath the black robe. Bai Li Shang panicked. Your Highness, save me. Save me. Hua. A black-robed figure appeared behind Bai Li Shang, one in front of the other behind him. At the same time, a demonic green light lit up. It was so fast that it instantly enveloped Bai Li Shang's body. In front of world deity Shintu, Bai Li Shang was completely powerless. It was similar to how Dongbua Shuiying had been extremely weak in front of the stage 3 great demon god of the Dark Abyss when he cultivated the Sealed World Pagoda secret technique. It was only because the other party had his deity heart and world deity energy sealed that he was trapped and unable to escape that world deity Shintu had succeeded in killing him. In a head-on battle, world deity Shintu would have died in 2 or 3 moves. Bai Li Shang was even weaker than Dongbua Shuiying. Furthermore, world deity Shintu specialized in assassinations. Every move he made was extremely ruthless. Cheat after Bai Li Shang's body was slashed by the demonic green light, the green light completely enveloped him, causing his body to rapidly disintegrate. Dongbua Shuiying, who was pondering the laws of heaven and earth and researching the extremity deity heart, suddenly received a message from his communication treasure. Your Highness, save me. Save me. What? Dongbua Shuiying was shocked. It's Bai Li Shang. Could it be that Monarch Songyong's men have already infiltrated my supervisor envoy residence? The supervisor envoy residence was heavily guarded. There were personal guards patrolling the area as well as arrays. Outsiders would normally be discovered. It was very difficult to avoid the arrays. However, there were countless secret techniques in the deity world, and there were all sorts of different methods. World deity Shintu's shadow clone had infiltrated the body of the maid, becoming one with her as he stealthily entered the residence. The arrays of the supervisor envoy residence could not detect him at all. Boom. Dongbo Shuang did not have the time to be shocked. He immediately rushed out of the underground hall. Within Bai Li Shang's cave residence. Within his meditation room. Bai Li Shang's other clone was there. His face was filled with anxiety, and he did not dare to move. World deity Shintu, it's actually world deity Shintu. He's too powerful. I'm not his match at all. Dongbo Shuang, hurry up and come. This is your territory. I've already become your disciple, so why aren't you here yet? Hurry up. Huang, within the meditation room, a shadowy figure condensed on the ground. Furthermore, it was not just one. There were dozens of shadowy figures in the vast meditation room, scattered in all directions. Shadows are everywhere. As soon as I entered your cave residence, I discovered your two bodies. Although the monarch said that through karma both of your bodies were in the supervisor envoy residence, I did not expect you to be in the same cave residence. This makes things much easier for me. The dozens of black-robed figures spoke at the same time, their voices ringing in Bai Li Shang's mind. Bai Li Shang clutched his head in pain. It was too painful. Even his true deity heart was being tortured. A shadowy mist was currently surrounding his head. His face, eyes, nose, and mouth were all covered by the shadowy mist. Speak. Are the items with you? If you speak, you won't have to suffer. The shadowy mist's voice resounded in Bai Li Shang's mind. No, they're not. Bai Li Shang's mind responded anxiously. Amen? Within the meditation room, the dozens of black-robed figures raised their heads at the same time. His shadow covered every corner of the cave residence. When Dongbo Shuang charged over, he naturally noticed it. You actually let Dongbo Shuang come over? You're courting death. Following a cold snort of anger. No, Bai Li Shang was terrified. Ping. Bai Li Shang's body suddenly exploded and turned into ashes. Meanwhile, a shadowy mist enveloped all of Bai Li Shang's belongings and quickly escaped. Chapter 520. Dongbo Shuang immediately rushed out of his cultivation area and soared into the sky. With a flash, he appeared right above Commander Bai Li Shang's cave dwelling. Many of the maids in the vicinity, as well as the personal guards patrolling in the distance, stared at Dongbo Shuang in bewilderment. Why had their prince suddenly appeared in Commander Bai Li's cave dwelling? Stay here. Dongbo Shuang bellowed. His voice reverberated throughout the entire supervisor envoy residence. Haha, Your Highness Dongbo, I have no other intentions in coming to your residence, nor do I have any intention of offending you. I'll be leaving right now. Please forgive me. Another cold and sinister voice resounded through the sky, and a shadowy mist instantly shot out of Commander Bai Li Shang's cave dwelling and soared into the sky. At this time, the supervisor envoy residence was in an uproar. Jing Qiu, Dongbo Yu, Dongbo Qingyao, and the others also came out to watch the scene from afar. However, no one else could help. Just the time it took for the personal guards to gather and surround the enemy was more than enough for the enemy to escape. Monarch Yong actually sent someone to infiltrate my residence and assassinate the commander of my personal guards. Dongbo Shuang was also filled with rage. This assassin who specializes in the shadows should be world deity Shintu, Monarch Yong's subordinate. Dongbo Shuang thought. He was familiar with all the famous powers in the deity world. Monarch Yong had a total of 12 stage 3 world deities under his command, and world deity Shintu was famous for his assassination and slaughter. His strength was ranked in the top 3 of Monarch Yong's subordinates. His actions are truly fast. It has only been a blink of an eye since I rushed out, and Commander Bai Li has already died. He is indeed good at assassination. Shui Ying's communication treasure, Bai Li Shang, who was originally asking for help, had already quietened down forever. Don't even think about leaving today. Dongbo Shui Ying's eyes were filled with coldness. World deity Shintu was currently fleeing at high speed. Not good. The entire supervisor envoy mansion's array has been activated. After being reinforced by the supervisor envoys of the past, I can no longer use the boundless domain within the vicinity of the supervisor envoy mansion. We have to rush out of the supervisor's manor. Successive inspectors continued to strengthen the system. Although the method he used to sneak in was very coincidental, merging with the maid's body and avoiding the detection of the supervisor's mansion. However, the more common infinite domain could not be used at all. Similarly, Dongbua Shui Ying's world incarnation was also unable to break the formation. However, Dongbua Shui Ying was the one controlling the formation of the supervisor residence. If he suppressed his opponent, he naturally wouldn't suppress himself. Shua. Dongbua Shui Ying instantly appeared above world deity Shin Tuesday. He stared coldly at the shadowy figure and shouted, "Shin Tu, are you still trying to escape? I didn't mean to offend you." A voice came from the shadowy figure. At the same time, the shadowy figure instantly split into tens of thousands of shadowy figures that flew in different directions. Dongbua Shui Ying frowned. He only had a maximum of 9 world bodies. Of course, he could create countless weaker illusory bodies. However, those illusory bodies were too weak and would probably not be able to withstand his attacks. Dang, 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 countless white chains rapidly flew out. All of them were condensed from luminous sun force. Moreover, the white chains flew at an extremely fast speed, as fast as light. If Dongbua Shui Ying were to fly by himself, he would be able to reach a speed of 300,000 kilometers per second with his current strength. However, compared to the speed of light, it was still a huge distance away. Countless dazzling white chains instantly flew out in all directions. Their speed was even faster than that of the shadowy figures. Domain-type secret skill? The boundless deity heart specializes in survival. Any one of them can be an illusory body, and any one of them can be the real body. Do you think you can trap me with such a large-scale domain-type secret skill? World deity Shintu was very disdainful. Domain-type secret skills had a large area of effect and posed a much smaller threat to an individual. World prison. Dongbua Shui Ying coldly watched everything. Countless thin chains had already spread out for millions of kilometers, binding and binding every single shadow. All of the other shadows dissipated. One of the shadows began to solidify. How is this possible? This shadow had completely transformed into a black-robed man. His green eyes were filled with shock and he struggled with all his might. With a pung, he shattered the countless white chains binding him. He looked at the distant Dongbua Shui Ying in disbelief. Aside from being an expert in assassination, I can be considered top-notch even amongst stage 3 world deities in direct combat. I was actually nearly unable to break free? Dongbua Shui Ying's domain-type secret skill is even stronger than the White Sand City Lord's annihilation White Sand? The black-robed man was shocked and furious. Hua hua hua, countless white chains covered the sky and earth as they frenziedly attacked the black-robed man. The black-robed man immediately did his best to resist. For a moment, the surrounding bewitching green blade lights lit up, slashing the white chains into pieces. However, the black-robed man was clearly having a hard time escaping. The chains were so dense that they often wrapped around his body, forcing him to struggle free time and time again. His black robes were sent flying, revealing his true appearance. He had an ugly face, grayish-white skin, and a pair of eyes that glowed green. He looked extremely ugly and evil. "Your Highness Dongbua." World deity Shintu hurriedly shouted, "My monarch does not wish to become enemies with your Highness Dongbua. There is no need for us to fight each other. This time, I have truly offended your Highness Dongbua, and I hereby apologize to your Highness. My monarch will also send you a gift after this matter is over to resolve this small conflict between our two families." Small conflict? Dongbua Shui Ying took a step forward and appeared right in front of world deity Shin Tuesday. He looked at world deity Shintu and said, "You sent your subordinates to infiltrate my residence and kill the commander of my personal guard. And you're still talking about a small conflict? Do you think that I, Dongbua Shui Ying, am that easy to bully?" World deity Shintu felt bitter in his heart. In the monarch's heart, offending Dongbua Shui Ying was nothing much. It wasn't a big deal at all. After all, there were many talented world deities throughout history, but most of them eventually stopped at the stage 4 world deity realm. To take that final step and become a powerful existence was simply too rare. Just by looking at the number of powerful existences in the deity world over the years, one would be able to tell. It seems things have gotten a little troublesome. Who would have thought that other than the supervisor envoy residence's arrays, Dongbua Shui Ying's domain-related secret skill would also be so powerful? Even I was nearly unable to break free from it. World deity Shintu felt apprehensive. Under such a domain-related secret skill, he would only be able to display 20 to 30% of his strength. It was impossible for him to be Dongbua Shui Ying's opponent. How could he be so powerful? If his domain-related secret skill was so powerful, how could he have allowed the venomous Ying world deity to escape back then? World deity Shintu thought. According to the published intelligence, venomous Ying had escaped together with Dong Xiao in the nest of myriad devils, and Dongbo Shui Ying's domain-related secret skill had been unable to stop them. World deity Shintu was extremely confident in his own strength. Since even the venomous Ying, who was weaker in close combat, was able to break his domain-related secret skill, he believed that Dongbo Shui Ying's domain-related secret skill would not affect him more than 30%. But he was wrong. Dongbo Shui Ying's strength had far surpassed his expectations. What he did not know, however, was that after 30,000 years Dongbo Shui Ying, who had only been at the third revolution of his luminous sun, had now reached the fourth revolution. If he could be said to be the strongest amongst Stage 3 world deities in the past, then he was currently invincible amongst Stage 3 world deities. In front of a weaker Stage 4 world deity, he would most likely be able to withstand 2 or 3 moves. This was the luminous sun force at the grand completion of the fourth revolution. Even the domain-related secret skill he displayed was abnormally terrifying. No. We've never felt that your highness is easy to bully. It's just that this world deity Shang-Yi has offended our monarch, and our monarch is determined to kill him. He's even sent an emissary over, but they were unable to come to an agreement. We could only resort to this method, world deity Shintu said hurriedly. His voice was somewhat hoarse. This time it was indeed our side's fault. What's done is done, and there's no point in regretting it. Our monarch isn't willing to become enemies with your highness, so if your highness has any dissatisfaction, please state your conditions. Anything can be discussed. Chapter 521. Monarch Songyong had not mentioned beforehand how much he was willing to compensate. This was the excuse world deity Shintu gave in order to plead for a better outcome. He was clear that Shui Ying's combat power had far surpassed his expectations. Although he was also adept at escaping, under the restrictions of the supervisor envoy's mansion's arrays and the terrifying domain secret skill, there was no way for him to escape. As such, he naturally began to think of ways to beg for mercy. After all, if he were to die in battle, even though this was only his body, he still had many treasures on him. If he were to die, his blood-refined divine weapon and many other treasures would all be gone. Moreover, he would have to cultivate his clone from the very beginning. Just the large amount of energy required to develop his inner world would be a huge expense. Thus, no matter what, he had to save his own life first. World deity Shintu squeezed out a smile on his ugly, ashen face. Your Highness, please state your conditions. My true body is by the monarch's side, so I can report this matter to him. Your Highness, your future is limitless, while my monarch has only cultivated for a short period of time to reach stage 4. Both your Highness and my monarch are destined to become overlords of our deity realm. Why should we form a grudge over such a trivial matter? If Monarch Songyong could make amends so easily, would he have dared to send you into my residence and kill my personal guard commander? Dongbo Shuang sneered. You're just making things up. I'm not making things up. Your Highness, please state your conditions. I will help you pass on the message, and I can even temporarily stay in your Highness's residence. Once my monarch sends an apology, you can let me go, world deity Shintu said. Since he could not escape, temporarily staying in the supervisor envoy's mansion was not a big deal. Dongbo Shuang softly said, I'm guessing that you're saying all this to save your life. However, your monarch Songyong was too arrogant this time, completely disregarding me. Today he dared to send someone to infiltrate my residence and kill my personal guard commander. Tomorrow he'll probably send someone to infiltrate my residence and kill my family. The assassination had been carried out right under his nose. This caused Dongbo Shui Ying's heart to palpitate. Clearly, in the eyes of those overlord-level existences, even if they gave Dongbo Shuang some face, they could still fall out with him at any moment. After all, even though his master was the Blood Blade, God Emperor would not lower himself to act just because his disciples suffered a setback. This was impossible. Among the Almighties, there were very, very few who truly protected their own. In the entire Bloodshed God Palace territory, there were only 2 people who were extremely protective of their people: Forefather Fierce Tyrant and Monarch Mother Whirlpool. When other Almighties nurtured their disciples, they allowed their disciples to fight and kill outside. If they died, they could only blame themselves for not being as skilled as others. Only with enough tempering could true experts be nurtured. If they were forever sheltered, they would never be able to truly rise. I wouldn't dare. World deity Shintu hurriedly said, my true body has already gone to meet the monarch and inform him of this matter so that he can make a decision. Dongbua Shuang frowned. His eyes were still filled with coldness. World deity Shintu's true body had indeed gone to meet the monarch. Monarch Songyong's lofty figure sat on the throne, a row of huge bone spurs protruding from the back of his neck. His indifferent eyes looked down at the black-robed man kneeling before him. Your clone couldn't escape? It seems that Dongbua Shuiying's combat power is truly formidable. His Majesty God Emperor is truly extravagant. Powerful existences have risked their lives to obtain this treasure, yet he casually gave it to a brat. Monarch, what should we do now? World deity Shintu hurriedly asked. First, confirm whether or not world deity Shang-Yi has obtained the relic, Monarch Songyong indifferently said. As for the rest, I'll leave it to you. Remember, do not embarrass me. Monarch Songyong understood that this subordinate of his wanted to protect his clone, so he spoke vaguely. Yes, world deity Shintu respectfully replied. High up in the sky above the supervisor envoy's residence, under the watchful gazes of a large number of his personal guards, the various deities of the Xia people, Jingqiu, Dongguayu, Dongbua Qingyao, and the others, the black-robed world deity Shintu, who was shackled by countless white chains, was extremely nervous. At the same time, he followed the monarch's orders and checked the items left behind by world deity Shang-Yi. Since world deity Shang-Yi was already dead, those items could be easily checked. This is. Upon checking, the black-robed man discovered a wooden box within world deity Shang-Yi's storage treasure. Inside the wooden box was a black sphere. The black sphere was covered with complicated bumpy patterns. This black sphere stunned world deity Shintu for a moment. This was because he had long since seen the painting of this black sphere. Monarch Songyong had shown it to them before. He had ordered them to chase after the fleeing world deities and search for the black sphere among the items left behind by them. The moment they found it, they were to immediately bring it back. The relic is actually with world deity Shang-Yi. The black-robed man was both excited and nervous. He was excited because, with the relic, he could make any promise he wanted. He believed that Monarch Songyong would not blame him. However, what made him nervous was that he was afraid that Dongbua Shuiying would kill him. If Dongbua Shuiying were to kill his avatar, not only would he lose his avatar, he would also lose the relic. As a capable subordinate of the monarch, he was very clear on how much the monarch had paid for the relic. If the relic were to fall into Dongbua Shuiying's hands, it would be too difficult to get it back. Dongbua Shuiying was not as easy to deal with as world deity Shang-Yi was. Your Highness, Your Highness. World deity Shintu looked at Dongbua Shuiying and squeezed out a smile. I've already reported this matter to the monarch, and he reprimanded me, saying that I didn't do it cleanly enough. Originally, the monarch had already made preparations. He knew that Your Highness would not agree to it, but the monarch still wanted to kill Shang-Yi. Thus he took the risk and sent me over to secretly deal with Shang-Yi. Afterwards, he sent an envoy to discuss this matter. After all, Your Highness has a boundless future ahead of you. How could the monarch be willing to form a grudge with Your Highness? It's just that I didn't expect Your Highness to be so powerful. Although I specialize in concealment, assassination, and escaping, I wasn't able to escape in the end. World deity Shintu hurriedly said, Our monarch heard that Your Highness is searching for demon bone ash, and he is willing to offer you 5 kilograms of demon bone ash. Dongbua Shuiying was shocked. No matter how angry he was previously, he was now somewhat shocked. 5 kilograms of demon bone ash? After he became the supervisor, he had sent Shi Wei to search for demon bone ash. Even after 30,000 years, he had only managed to buy 1.5 kilograms of demon bone ash. Demon bone ash was extremely precious and rare. Your monarch is able to take out 5 kilograms of demon bone ash? Dongbua Shuiying frowned. He can. The monarch said it himself, world deity Shintu hurriedly said. He was lying through his teeth. He didn't know whether the monarch had demon bone ash or not. All he knew was that Dongbua Shuiying had been searching for demon bone ash for a long time. There were indeed some powers that gave Dongbua Shuiying face and sold him some demon bone ash. As long as he could stall for time. As long as he could protect the ruins and deliver the treasure to the monarch, his mission would be a success. 5 kilograms of demon bone ash? Dongbua Shuiying frowned. I heard from Bai Li Shang that a large number of world deities escaped from the ruins. Do you mean to compensate with 5 kilograms of demon bone ash for every world deity you kill? Can your monarch even afford it? Stage 4 world deities were indeed much wealthier, but 5 kilograms of demon bone ash was worth more than 500 million deity crystals. Monarch Songyong was also considered young, unlike Monarch Mo Shui who had lived for a very long time. How much wealth could he possibly have? How could he compensate so much just to kill a stage 2 world deity? Isn't it because of your highness? I only need to compensate you, world deity Shintu said. Dongbu Shuang shook his head. World deity Shintu, I don't believe you. So, I'll have to ask you to die. Boom, 9 Dongbu Shuang immediately appeared in the surroundings, each of them wielding a spear. For a moment, a world-destroying might surrounded world deity Shintu and attacked him simultaneously with the spear technique, destruction. For a moment, the surroundings were plunged into darkness. World deity Shintu revealed a look of terror. His body immediately turned into countless shadowy streams of air as he tried his best to escape. At the same time, his voice reverberated, I'm telling the truth. I don't believe you. Firstly, if Monarch Songyong was this sincere, then the emissary would not have been so arrogant when he came to negotiate. Secondly, I don't think that Monarch Songyong is that afraid of me. In order to resolve my anger, he's willing to give me 5 kilograms of demon bone ash. Thirdly, all of this was said by you and not by Monarch Songyong himself. I think that you're trying to stall for time in order to preserve your life. Fourthly, and the most important point, you killed the commander of my personal guard. Right now, my personal guard is watching, and even the countless deities of Eastern Region City are watching. If I let you go, how can I, Dongbu Shuang, convince the masses? Dongbu Shuang said coldly. Rumble, the area surrounded by world deity Shintu collapsed into darkness. The shadowy streams of air scattered in all directions, but they were destroyed time and time again. It was extremely difficult to kill someone who cultivated the boundless deity heart. However, the difference in strength was just too great. World deity Shintu was also heavily injured time and time again, causing his energy consumption to become more and more severe. My monarch will definitely send someone to apologize. No, my monarch has said that he will come personally. World deity Shintu's voice reverberated throughout the area of darkness. I'll first kill this clone of yours. If your monarch is sincere, then send an emissary to apologize, Dongbu Shuang said. As soon as he finished speaking, world deity Shintu's remnant figure could no longer hold on any longer. Following the destruction of the final shadow stream, this avatar of world deity Shintu was finally exterminated. With a wave of his hand, Dongbu Shuang collected all the treasures left behind by world deity Shintu's day. He then took a step forward and traversed through space to the side of his wife and children. He felt that world deity Shintu's credibility was too low. Moreover, Monarch Songyong had given him a huge slap in the face. How could he let Shintu off just like that? Monarch Songyong sat on his throne and looked down at the black-robed figure. World deity Shintu hurriedly said, Monarch, I tried everything I could to beg for mercy and made many promises. However, Dongbu Shuang still acted and destroyed my clone. Made many promises? Tried everything you could to beg for mercy? Monarch Songyong indifferently said, I already told you not to embarrass me. No. World deity Shintu hurriedly said, Monarch, you asked me to investigate the treasures left behind by world deity Shangyi. I discovered that the black sphere was exactly the same as the object in the painting scroll you showed us. What? Monarch Songyong abruptly stood up. A terrifying grayish-white aura surged out, and Monarch Songyong's eyes were filled with a terrifying killing intent. Where's the relic? He had desired it for a very long time. For the sake of this relic, he was willing to give up everything else, including his blood-refined deity warrior and even his empire. This was also the reason why he had to use karma to investigate the whereabouts of so many world deities who had escaped. My clone has been killed, and the relic has fallen into Dongbu Shuiying's hands, world deity Shintu said. Chapter 522. The towering monarch Songyong stood there, causing the world around him to tremble. He looked down at world deity Shintu and bellowed, Scram! Yes, this subordinate will take his leave. World deity Shintu felt his heart palpitate as he hurriedly took his leave. Normally, he was the monarch's right-hand man, and the monarch would normally place great importance on him. Yet at this moment he had actually said the word, Scram. Clearly monarch Songyong was extremely furious. World deity Shintu did not find this strange in the slightest, as he was very clear on how much the monarch had paid for this. The relic has landed in the hands of Dongbu Shuiying, and Dongbu Shuiying probably won't be able to hold on to it for long. Monarch Songyong will definitely go all out. What empire, subordinates, authority? All of these were external things. For the sake of power, everything could be abandoned. Within the gloomy space, Monarch Songyong slowly sat down on his throne and let out a low chuckle. Haha. Although there have been some twists and turns and troubles, at the very least, I found the relic. I originally thought that this relic didn't exist. Monarch Songyong's eyes were filled with excitement and anticipation. I only chased after those world deities who escaped because I was unwilling to give up. Who would have thought that world deity Shang-Yi would actually be able to take away the relic? Those fools. How could they possibly understand how precious this relic is? Even if it was left with them, they wouldn't be able to use it. If I were to obtain this relic, I, Songyong, would become much stronger. I would be ranked at the very top amongst stage 4 world deities, and I might even be able to fight against powerful existences. Monarch Songyong's eyes were filled with excitement. Fighting above one's level was extremely difficult. Stage 4 world deities would begin to comprehend other things by analogy and grasp many other grade 1 deity hearts. As a result, the gap between them and powerful existences was relatively small. This gave them hope of fighting against powerful existences. However, even though each and every one of them had tyrannical strength and were said to be close to powerful existences, even so, close was still somewhat lacking. Only those who had fought against powerful existences without being defeated. Only then could they be considered as truly powerful existences. Among stage 4 world deities, there would only be 1 in 10 of them. An old man like Monarch Mo Shui who had lived for a very long time had done it before. As for the other outstanding overlords, even though big senior brother Huiming had a great reputation and was ranked in the front amongst the stage 4 world deities, he was only known as almost comparable to an almighty, or almost comparable to an almighty. This was because big senior brother Huiming did not have the battle record of fighting against an almighty without being defeated. After all, almighties had lived for a long time and were not to be trifled with. Most of the peak stage 4 world deities could only flee for their lives in front of the almighties. It was very, very difficult to not be at a disadvantage. As long as I obtain this treasure, my strength will increase greatly. Secondly, I can also carefully comprehend it, and the possibility of transcending from the river of time will increase. Moreover, after my strength increases greatly, I can also rely on this to explore even more dangerous places. Monarch Songyong thought to himself, this relic treasure is my greatest opportunity. We must get it. I'll kill whoever dares to stop me. Monarch Songyong's eyes were filled with coldness. Transcending. This was something every stage 4 world deity desired. They had all lived for billions of years and were willing to do anything for the sake of transcending. Dongbu Shuiying? Monarch Songyong sneered. Although he's the personal disciple of God Emperor would never interfere in a normal fight. The temperament of Blood Blade was well known in the deity world and abyss. Even if I kill this body of Dongbu Shuiying, he's still a lord of a material world, and his true body is still in the material world. In truth, he wouldn't truly die. God Emperor would have even less reason to act, Monarch Songyong thought to himself. However, there's no need to be too ruthless. This Dongbu Shuiying will also become an overlord in the future. This time I'll give him some face and not kill him. I'll directly capture him, seal his true deity heart, and seize his treasures. As for the other treasures, I'll just take the relic away. Monarch Songyong had already made up his mind. As long as he wasn't too ruthless, there was still room for negotiation in the future. If he were to kill Dongbu Shuiying's avatar this time, the enmity between them would probably grow. I can be considered benevolent. If he insists on fighting, do you think I'll be afraid of him after I obtain the relic? Monarch Songyong sneered. At that time, he was confident that he could surpass realms to fight powerful existences. Prepare. I need to act quickly. I also need to set up an array to seal off a radius of 1 trillion kilometers. Even if the Calm Sea Prefecture Master comes to rescue me, I should be able to delay him for a bit. Monarch Songyong calculated. In truth, he was confident that he could deal with Dongbu Shuiying in a single move. However, since the relic was involved, he could not be too careful. After all, he could not afford to lose. The relic had to be snatched back at all cost. Within the Calm Sea Prefecture, within the Supervisor Envoy's residence in East Region City. Your Highness. A group of subordinates rushed over. They were the commanders of Dongbu Shuiying's personal guard, as well as many Stage 2 world deities. Dongbu Shuang shook his head. I was a step too slow. Commander Bai Li was assassinated by world deity Shintu, but his avatar was also destroyed by me. World deity Shintu? The commanders and guests were all inwardly shocked. That was a Stage 3 world deity who specialized in assassination and hiding, yet he had been killed by His Highness just like that? Not even he had been able to escape? All right, you can all leave, Dongbu Shuang said. He was not in a good mood. Although he had killed one of the enemy's avatars, the commander of his personal guards was truly dead. Yes. Everyone quickly left. Even Dongbu Yu, Dongbu Qingyao and Qingyao were given a signal by his mother, Jingqiu. Only Jingqiu accompanied Dongbu Shuang. Snow Eagle, Monarch Songyong actually sent his subordinate into our residence to kill the commander of your personal guard. Is his killing intent that heavy? There's no need to think too much about it. There's nothing we can do to Monarch Songyong, Dongbu Shuang said. This time I killed one of his subordinates to vent my anger. In the end, I'm the one who suffered a loss. After all, my subordinate commander was truly killed. I reckon that this matter will end here. Yes. Jingqiu nodded. Based on their predictions, Bai Li Shang was dead, while world deity Shintu had only lost a clone. There should not be any follow-up to this matter. Their predictions were not wrong. However, they did not expect that after world deity Shintu's clone died, an extremely important treasure would fall into Dongbu Shui Ying's hands. It was destined that Monarch Songyong would not let this matter rest. The two of them chatted as they walked. At the same time, Dongbu Shuang split his attention to inspect the treasure he had obtained after killing world deity Shintu's day. Originally, he had only done so casually. After all, with the treasures he had inherited from Crimson Rock Mountain, the treasures of a Stage 3 world deity were nothing to him. But, what's this? Dongbu Shuang immediately discovered a black sphere placed within a wooden box. The black sphere was covered with countless uneven vein patterns. Just those incomparably mysterious vein patterns alone gave Dongbu Shuang the feeling that he was peering into the vast starry sky. He instantly understood that this was a mysterious treasure. After informing his wife, he immediately went into seclusion and began his investigation. In an underground hall, Dongbu Shuang placed the wooden box on the ground in front of him and opened it, revealing the black sphere. It must be some sort of mysterious treasure. But what use does it have? Dongbu Shuang was puzzled. Even with his experience, he could not immediately tell what the black sphere was used for. In the void outside Eastern Region City, a Starfield flying ship flew out. Standing on the ship was a cold-looking, bald man with bone spikes protruding from the back of his neck. He looked at the distant Eastern Region City, and an invisible pressure began to spread out. In an instant, the entire Eastern Region City had fallen into his world deity domain. My treasure, I'm coming. Monarch Songyong's eyes were filled with fanaticism. He had waited far too long for this day. Chapter 523. Monarch Songyong's gaze fell on the spatial transfer array outside Eastern Region City. Immediately, countless streams of gray energy appeared out of thin air, wrapping around the soldiers responsible for guarding the transfer array. The soldiers were all terrified, but they were unable to struggle at all. At the same time, the gray energy seeped into the transmission array, digging out a part of the complex array foundation. The teleportation formation has been crippled for the time being. With a single step, Monarch Songyong traversed a great distance and arrived in the sky above Eastern Region City. East Region City was surrounded by a winding river that was 1 trillion kilometers long, like a ribbon protecting the city. Monarch Songyong overlooked everything that was happening. At the same time, countless streams of gray chi appeared in all directions outside the massive East Region City, vaguely forming an incomparably large and complex spirit formation. At the same time, Monarch Songyong threw out 2 formation plates, which pierced through space and appeared in 2 different directions within the East Region City, becoming the eye of the enormous spirit formation. The power of the formation increased exponentially. Even if the Calm Sea Prefecture Master comes, the array should be able to hold him off for a while. Monarch Songyong was exceptionally cautious. He had even prepared the array plate beforehand. As a Stage 4 world deity, Monarch Songyong's world deity domain was incomparably vast, even larger than the entire East Region City. The countless gods in the Eastern Region City did not notice at all. Even if the guards of the teleportation formation were trapped and their true deity hearts were sealed, they could not report it at all. Therefore, even though the vast starry sky outside East Region City had formed a terrifying ceiling formation, everything within East Region City remained normal. Supervisor residence. Jing Qiu, who was dressed in a deep blue robe, was at the edge of a large lake in the mansion boiling fruit wine. The aroma of fruit wine wafted from the mouth of the wine pot. In fact, many of the personal guards and attendants within the mansion were muttering to themselves. Their "Madam" rarely entered closed-door cultivation. "Madam, isn't she the slightest bit interested in becoming a world deity? The lifespan of a deity is too short, they can't accompany your highness for too long." Many subordinates and attendants muttered to themselves, but no one dared to say it out loud. Dongbo Shuiying did mention that Jing Qiu was able to bluff her way out of it. She said that her main body was cultivating diligently in her hometown, and this clone of hers was there to observe the heavens and earth. Dongbo Shuiying also realized that his wife wasn't lying. Her main body did frequently accelerate time to cultivate. But why was the clone so lazy? Was being so relaxed really beneficial to cultivation? Based on what Dongbo Shuiying knew, most cultivators would encounter a bottleneck, and no matter how hard they cultivated, it would be futile. That was the reason why they would look into the world and search for an opportunity to break through. Jing Qiu was only at the first god tier. She was still far from the bottleneck. Jing Qiu suddenly raised her head and looked towards the distant sky. A trace of coldness appeared in her gentle eyes. Monarch Songyong? He was here, and he was actually setting up a spirit formation. Snow Eagle only killed one of his clones, and it can't be considered a real kill, but he still doesn't let it go. Monarch Songyong had set up a vast ceiling formation around Eastern Region City. Any outsider would have to break through the obstruction of the ceiling formation before they could enter Eastern Region City. Dongbo Shuiying. After finishing his preparations, Monarch Songyong prepared to take action. Songyong. A cold voice sounded. Monarch Songyong was startled. He saw a vast stream of white light shoot up into the sky from Eastern Region City, flying high into the sky to confront him from afar. It was a silver-haired, white-robed woman wearing a silver mask. Her long silver hair fluttered in the wind, reaching all the way down to her heels. Her entire body was emitting an incomparably astonishing chill. Monarch Songyong looked at the masked, white-robed woman in confusion. Deity realm? How can she only be a deity? Just the terrifying speed at which she had flown up had already made him feel somewhat threatened. She should be a stage 4 world deity. How could she be a deity? But the aura of the white-robed woman in front of him was indeed only at the deity realm. Who are you? Monarch Songyong frowned. He should have recognized all of the stage 4 world deities of the deity world, but he was unable to recognize her. Songyong, you sent your subordinate to assassinate the commander of Dongbo Shuiying's personal guard. What's wrong? Your subordinate only lost one of his clones, yet you've come personally? The silver-haired, white-robed woman stood high up in the sky. At the same time, the vast void around her, as well as the entire area within 100 billion kilometers of Eastern Region City, began to condense into a cold that could be seen with the naked eye. Cold, bone-chilling cold. Even Monarch Songyong felt a chill drilling into his body. Everything within 100 billion kilometers was frozen solid. The silver-haired, white-robed woman looked at Monarch Songyong as if she was the ruler of everything. I advise you to leave. You think you can persuade me to leave? This clone of yours is actually only at the deity realm and hasn't even reached the world deity realm. You think you can stop me? Monarch Songyong's body swayed and suddenly expanded. His body instantly became towering. Although he could not compare to Eastern Region City, he was still much larger than the capital cities of most starfields. Bone spurs protruded from his body, emitting a savage aura. Scram. Monarch Songyong waved his hand and grabbed at the woman, his 5 fingers curled up. The silver-haired, white-robed woman stood in the distance, watching the gigantic hand that blotted out the sun come grabbing at her. In the blink of an eye, strands of ice-cold sword light flew out from her body. Some of these sword lights were abnormally ferocious, while others were gentle and coiled around her. Countless ice-cold sword lights instantly met the gigantic hand. Long. The collision was accompanied by a deafening boom. The towering monarch Songyong staggered a step back, and a large number of sword lights were similarly shattered. So it's your highness. I heard that you're already dead, but who would have thought that not only are you still alive, you've even broken through from stage 3 to stage 4. You're truly courageous to actually dare to show yourself. Monarch Yong fiercely pulled out two of the bone spurs on his back and madly charged forward. You're just a newly promoted stage 4 world deity, and you don't even have a blood-refined deity warrior or a world deity domain, yet you still want to stop me? Hung Long, for the sake of obtaining the relic, Monarch Yong did not hold back at all. For a moment, the heavens shook and the earth cracked. Stopping you isn't a problem at all. Furthermore, the Calm Sea Prefecture Master will be here soon. The silver-haired woman coldly said. It's useless even if he comes. As for you, you won't be able to stop me. Monarch Yong was incomparably ruthless. There was a sealing array outside, so it would not be that easy to barge in. In the supervisor envoy's residence in an underground hall. Rewinding time back to the time when Dongbu Shuiying was examining the Black Sphere. What's this treasure used for? Dongbu Shuiying even sent his consciousness into the Black Sphere to carefully examine it. He pondered over it, but for a moment he was unable to make sense of it. However, when he infused his world deity energy into the Black Sphere, immediately the uneven patterns on the Black Sphere began to emit light. Countless patterns began to shine, illuminating the surrounding void. An incomparably profound and complex three-dimensional diagram was formed. This is? Looking at this profound three-dimensional diagram, Dongbu Shuiying was shocked. This was no longer just a simple examination of the patterns. Seeing the three-dimensional diagram reflected in the air with his own eyes left him somewhat dazed. It was too complex, too profound, and the various laws of profound mysteries within it were simply inconceivable. As a cultivator, Dongbu Shuiying could not help but immerse himself in it. After immersing himself in it, he began to feel and comprehend it. It was only natural. Boom. A mysterious spherical illusion appeared behind Dongbu Shuiying's back. This spherical illusion seemed to be very big but also very small at the same time. The concept of spacetime was unable to describe it. It was the origin of all laws in the world, and it was also the end of all laws. Dongbu Shuiying opened his eyes, and the spherical illusion of the extremity point appeared behind him. I didn't understand the secret of this treasure, but it touched me, allowing me to break through and grasp the extremity deity heart. A smile appeared on Dongbu Shuiying's face. I've finally become a stage 3 world deity. It's even faster than I expected. Chapter 524. Within Dongbu Shuiying's sea of consciousness, the little person became even more tender, as though he was a real person. His pair of eyes brought about an invisible pressure. After reaching stage 3, his true deity heart became even more condensed and powerful, and the surrounding illusory world became even clearer. Evolve. Hung Long. Within his inner world, countless deity crystals were being absorbed and converted into energy to fuel the evolution of his inner world. The originally vast world of 1 billion kilometers was now frantically expanding in all directions. For a moment, the earth within the inner world rumbled, and the earth became deeper and deeper. The sky became higher and higher, and the land was also rapidly expanding, eroding the ocean. But the ocean was similarly expanding, becoming bigger and bigger. Even some islands began to appear within the ocean, and at the center of the ocean, a continent began to appear. The world of 1 billion kilometers was rapidly expanding to 10 billion kilometers. The extremity deity heart lies in the origin, the beginning, the end, and the one. After he had comprehended the laws of the world and fused them with the extremity deity heart, Dongbu Shuiying's inner world's operating laws became more complete, and the range of his ability also became larger. Originally, within the inner world, although all living things could grow, it was chaotic and disorderly. Some grew very quickly and some withered very quickly as well. Some crazily invaded the area of growth. It was very chaotic. But now, there was an invisible hand controlling the entire inner world. The extremity deity heart was the beginning and end of all living things. It was the final core one, and it faintly controlled the laws of all living things. For a moment, the entire inner world underwent a huge change and everything became orderly. All sorts of plants, flowers, and trees harmonized with one another, and the grasslands, deserts, and other areas all had formless restrictions. The entire world was one. It's getting more and more perfect. In the sky above the world of 10 billion kilometers, a huge face appeared, overlooking this beautiful world. Glaciers, grasslands, plains, deserts, mountains, all living things were growing and withering, everything was so beautiful. I'm getting closer to the real world. Dongbu Shuiying understood that it was difficult to draw the heart, and he was able to evolve the inner world closer to the real world. But to truly transform it into a real world, to give birth to living things, to allow humans to grow and die of old age, to allow souls to reincarnate, this was too difficult. This was also the reason why it was so difficult for Stage 4 world deities to transcend and become powerful existences. After becoming a powerful existence, the inner world would naturally evolve into a real world, possessing the perfect laws of the world. Dongbo Shuang opened his eyes and waved his hand. 38 golden beads and 2 dark golden bones appeared on the ground in front of him. This dark golden bone only had the appearance of a bone on the surface. In fact, it was formed naturally after a long period of time in a special environment. It was the crystallization of nature, not the bones of a corpse. Just these 2 demon bones Ash had taken Dongbo Shuang over 30,000 years of hard work to gather. It was only because he was on good terms with Dongbo Shuang that he was able to sell them to him. These 2 demon bones Ash only weighed a little more than 1.5 Jing. Suck. Dongbo Shuang's nostrils immediately inhaled a mixture of golden light from the golden bead and demon bone ash. One was the pure golden light from the golden bead, and the other was the dark gray light from demon bone ash. They were quickly absorbed into his inner world and started to transform. Because his true body in the Crimson Rock Mountain of the Xia people's world had 100-fold time acceleration, he naturally became a Stage 3 world deity. He had already begun to research the 3rd volume of the Luminous Sun Absolute Art. The first revolution of the 3rd volume of the Luminous Sun was too simple. After all, Dongbo Shuang had already mastered the 4th revolution of the 2nd volume. Back in the Crimson Rock Mountain, his true body had instantly comprehended it. The 2nd revolution of the 3rd volume was slightly more profound. However, Dongbo Shuang had been pondering over the spear technique, destruction, for many years. He had long since gained experience in fusing worlds, chaos holes and extremities. Thus he only needed a day to comprehend it. Although it was said to be a day because of the 100-fold time acceleration, only a few moments had passed in the outside world. Above the inner world, the white clouds were condensed from countless luminous sun force. Clearly, the luminous sun force had evolved by another level. This 3rd revolution. As Dongbo Shuang pondered, his true body in the Crimson Rock Mountain was also pondering. The 3rd revolution of the 3rd volume was clearly much more complex and profound. For a moment, Dongbo Shuang was filled with all sorts of questions. It would probably take him 10,000 years or even longer to ponder over it. After all, he had just stepped into the Stage 3 world deity, unlike when he first cultivated the luminous sun. In reality, he had already cultivated for 100,000 years under the time acceleration. Although his main focus was on researching the destruction of spear techniques, he still had a deep foundation. After obtaining the Luminous Sun Absolute Art, he was just a step away from mastering the 2nd volume of the 3rd revolution. After becoming a supervisor, he reached the 3rd revolution not long after. Only after 20,000 years in the real world did he finally step into the 4th revolution. Hong Long Long, a violent shockwave transmitted over from afar. By the time it reached the supervisor's residence, it was already very weak. However, Dongbo Shuang could still sense it. What's going on? Shuang, who had been puzzled over his cultivation of the luminous sun, suddenly snapped out of his daze. With a wave of his hand, he collected the golden fiend crystal, demon bone ash, and the mysterious black sphere. He had just broken through, so he did not have the time to continue researching the black sphere. At this moment, countless deities in the entire eastern region city had noticed the great battle taking place in the sky. Monarch Songyong had been secretly laying down a formation and had sent his own world deity domain down. Jing Qiu, who was also a Stage 4 world deity and was in the midst of comprehending the world, instantly noticed that Dongbo Shuang had been cultivating the luminous sun absolute art in seclusion and had not paid any attention to the outside world. What's going on? Who's fighting? A commotion broke out in the supervisor's residence and the distant Eastern Blaze army camp. Many world deities raised their heads to look at the sky. In fact, there were even more deities who were gasping in surprise. Their eyesight was extremely astonishing, and they could clearly see the battle taking place. Too powerful. Dongbo Yu, Dongbua, and Qing Yao also raised their heads in surprise. There were also many servants and subordinates around them. Where's mother? Where's mother? Dongbo Yu and the others were also paying attention to their surroundings. She's probably watching the battle from somewhere else in the residence. Dongbua and Qing Yao also raised their heads in excitement. A figure suddenly appeared. It was none other than Dongbo Shuang. Dongbu Shuiying raised his head to look at the sky and saw countless amounts of frost condensing, enveloping the entire sky above Eastern Region City. At the center of the frost was a silver-haired, white-robed woman. She wore a mask and countless sword lights surged around her, forming all sorts of arrays over and over again as she attacked the savage giant. Monarch Songyong was currently 5 billion kilometers tall and towering. Everyone in Eastern Region City could clearly see his enormous figure. Monarch Songyong held a bone spear in each of his hands. Seemingly capable of ripping apart the world, he disregarded the obstruction of the frost and attacked again and again. In the distance, the silver-haired, white-robed woman quickly dodged while controlling the countless sword lights to defend herself. You can't block it. Since you insist on doing so, then die. Monarch Songyong was incomparably savage. You. The silver-haired, white-robed woman's cold voice resounded throughout the world. Dongbu Shuiying frowned. Monarch Songyong? Who was that silver-haired, white-robed woman? Why didn't I have any information about her in my memories? Songyong. Dongbu Shuiying bellowed. Boom. In an instant, he shot into the sky, piercing through the void and arriving near the distant battlefield. That was because the battlefield was within the range of the arrays, and void piercing was impossible. Father. Your Highness, be careful. Dongbu Yu Shiwei Gubai He Fei Yun, and the others all felt their hearts tighten. They all recognized that this was Monarch Songyong. His opponent was most likely a Stage 4 world deity. General Mo of the Eastern Blaze Army was currently relying on the arrays of Eastern Region City to protect himself from the shockwaves of the terrifying battle. Dongbu Shuiying, who was only a Stage 2 world deity, had already charged over? Shiwei He Fei Yun, and the others were all focused on the battle above. Only when Dongbu Shuiying charged out did they realize that they had not been able to observe the battle in detail. Nor did they realize that Dongbu Shuiying was already a Stage 3 world deity. Monarch Songyong and the silver-haired, white-robed woman exchanged blows for less than a breath's worth of time before they saw a figure piercing through the void. It was none other than the spear-wielding black-robed youth. Dongbu Shuiying? You actually dare to come? Monarch Songyong was overjoyed, but then his expression changed. He could tell with a single glance. A Stage 3 world deity? Bang. The area around Dongbu Shuiying immediately began to condense the other 9 world bodies. Suppress. Monarch Songyong's lips curled into a sneer. His terrifying world deity domain suppressed everything, including the area around Dongbu Shuiying. Every strand of world energy was suppressed by the laws, making it impossible for Dongbu Shuiying to use it. Naturally, he was unable to condense a world body. The world body required world energy to form. If he could not use world energy, then this move would be useless. Dongbu Shuiying, when it comes to world control, you are no match for me. Monarch Songyong sneered. As expected of a Stage 4 world deity, Dongbu Shuiying was secretly apprehensive. Stage 4 world deities were able to comprehend and grasp many Grade 1 deity hearts. Clearly, Monarch Songyong had also grasped a world deity heart, and his realm was even more profound. Eat my spear first. The fiery red scarlet cloud spear in Dongbu Shuiying's hand instantly streaked across the sky. The spear rapidly expanded, traversing hundreds of millions of kilometers as it pierced towards Monarch Songyong with unparalleled might. Monarch Songyong was originally filled with disdain, but the moment the spear pierced out, his expression abruptly changed. The might of the spear was already at the level of a Stage 4 world deity. Even so, he's still not my opponent. Monarch Songyong brandished the bone spear in his hand and faced the attack head-on. The silver-haired, white-robed masked woman was watching this scene unfold from afar. Dongbu Shuiying had also noticed her. Who is she? She seems to be a deity, thought Dongbu Shuiying. Dongbu Shuiying thought. In order to conceal her identity, Yu Jingqiu had completely retracted her aura. She was only using the sword light generated by her secret technique to fight. She had deliberately retracted her aura. Be it her fighting style, her aura, her clothes, her hair, or even her figure, everything had changed. Naturally, Dongbu Shuiying was unable to recognize her at first glance. This was the wife who had shared his bed with him. Chapter 525. The huge bone spear clashed with the scarlet cloud spear, and Dongbu Shuiying could only feel layers upon layers of energy continuously corroding his spear, causing him to stagger back. An absolute art is this powerful? A newly ascended stage 3 world deity like you can actually fight someone of a higher realm? Monarch Songyong was furious. In the past he had never placed stage 3 world deities in his eyes. But while Dongbo Shuiying was inferior to him, the gap between them was no longer that great. Careful. A voice transmitted into Dongbo Shuiying's ears. Dongbo Shuiying, although Monarch Songyong's attacks seem tyrannical, they are actually sinister. They specialize in infiltration, corrosion, decay, and annihilation. The distant silver-haired, white-robed woman was also controlling countless sword lights to help attack Monarch Songyong. Songyong, what have you come to my eastern region city for? Dongbo Shuiying waved his hand and swept out with his spear. The spear spanned over 100 million kilometers, displaying its ferocious might. You killed my subordinate, and now you want to pretend that nothing happened? Monarch Songyong charged forward, using the bone spear in his hands to block yet another spear strike. Who are you trying to fool? Your subordinate is just a clone, yet you're willing to risk your life like this? Shuiying sneered. He could feel the huge weakness in his comprehension of the laws and profound mysteries. Even though the luminous sun force was strong in terms of strength and speed, it was still not enough. Although his luminous sun force was extremely powerful in terms of speed and strength, he was only at the second transition. His spear technique suddenly changed and he used his killer move. Bang! The spear stabbed out, causing everything around it to collapse and collapse. When it was compressed to the limit, it burst forth with a terrifying penetrative power. This move? Monarch Songyong was startled. The bone spear in his hands transformed into a circle, forming circular ripples. The spear tip collided with the circular ripples. Monarch Songyong's expression began to change. Again. Dongbo Shuiying was incomparably valiant, his spear fiercely attacking time and time again. He didn't use any techniques like the world prison and he didn't even get close. This was because the battle had happened too quickly, and he didn't have the time to think about other secret skills. For example, he did not cultivate the time immemorial body. The only spear art he was proficient in was destruction. This was because this move relied on the fusion of the world, chaos, and extremity deity hearts. Now that Dongbo Shuiying had used this move a few times, his spear art was getting more and more proficient. At the side, there were also countless sword gleams that surrounded and attacked crazily. Their might was not inferior to that of Dongbo Shuiying. With the two of them working together, Monarch Songyong was unable to deal with them for a while. Damn it! Why is this Dongbo Shuiying so strong? How am I supposed to capture him when he's so strong? Forget about capturing him, we can't even kill him. Monarch Songyong glanced at the silver-haired, white-robed woman in the distance. Her Highness, the Empyrean Maiden, is still in the deity realm. She doesn't even have a world deity domain, and she can only rely on her secret techniques to fight with me. Dongbo Shuiying is also a newly advanced third celestial layer. With his absolute art in this spear technique, both of them are slightly weaker than me. If I were to fight them one-on-one, I reckon that I might stand a chance if I spend more time on them. But now that the two of them are working together, they won't be able to win even if they fight for 2 hours. Where did Her Highness Empyrean Fairy come from? And it's such a coincidence that he's in Eastern Region City? Monarch Songyong muttered to himself. Suddenly, Monarch Songyong's expression changed as he looked behind him. In the distant starry sky, a Starfield flying ship had appeared. At the prow of the Starfield flying ship was an amiable-looking old man. However, even from a distance, this old man gave off a terrifying aura that seemed to engulf the boundless starry sky. There was even a faint image of a gigantic dragon head in the vast starry sky. Sea Prefecture Master. Monarch Songyong's heart trembled. Although he had great potential, he was still a member of the younger generation. The Sea Prefecture Master had lived for an extremely long time. His lifespan was even comparable to Monarch Mo Shui's. The fact that he had lived for so long without going crazy or reincarnating was a testament to his strength. From this, one could see his strength. It was publicly acknowledged that his strength was close to that of a powerful existence. The only thing he lacked in comparison to Monarch Mo Shui was the fact that he had yet to truly fight against a powerful existence without losing. Regardless, he was not someone Monarch Songyong could defeat. With Her Highness Empyrean Fairy helping Dongbo Shuiying, even without the Sea Prefecture Master, I have no hope of winning. Let's go. Monarch Songyong turned around and left without any hesitation. He held the initiative in the first place, and coupled with the fact that the surrounding arrays were under his control, he left without any hesitation. Riding a Starfield flying ship, He collected the array plate before entering the spacetime tunnel and leaving. Your Highness Dongbua, I, Yong, will return in a few days to offer my apologies. This old dragon is very difficult to deal with, so I'll be taking my leave first. Monarch Yong's voice rang out in Dongbua Shuiying's mind. Dongbua Shuiying was startled. Offer my apologies. He was at a disadvantage in front of Monarch Yong, yet he still wanted to apologize? World deity Shintu was killed by me, and yet he personally came to kill me just because of my subordinate's clone. Now that he can't win, he's even apologizing? Could it be that he has some sort of request? Dongbua Shuiying could not help but think of the mysterious black sphere he had obtained. I'll just have to deal with his moves when the time comes. As long as he could consolidate his strength a little more, he would not need to fear Yong. Dongbua. The calm Sea Prefecture master flew over with a smile. Hua. The distant silver-haired, white-robed woman instantly descended toward the eastern region city, disappearing without a trace. Dongbua Shuiying glanced at her, then went to greet the calm Sea Prefecture master. Prefecture master. You've actually become a stage 3 world deity? The calm Sea Prefecture master put away his starfield flying ship and exclaimed in surprise, now that I think about it, you haven't even cultivated for 40,000 years. 39,000 years? Dongbua Shuiying replied. Time acceleration was not counted in his calculations. Time acceleration was mainly used to comprehend secret techniques and secret skills. To truly comprehend the world, one had to do so under the normal flow of time. Truly formidable. In the entire history of the deity world and Dark Abyss, the fastest person to become a stage 3 world deity was Manor Lord Feishue, yet he took 53,000 years. The calm Sea Prefecture master sighed. You, on the other hand, only took 39,000 years. Impressive, impressive. Anyone who could create a new record was definitely not ordinary. Dongbua Shuiying hurriedly said, I had some luck. First of all, world, chaos, whole, and extremity were the 3 true meanings he had cultivated while he was still a transcendent. Back then, he had already cultivated the true meaning of mirage, star, and extreme piercing. As such, it was relatively easy for him to cultivate all 3. He was clearly much weaker in the aspect of spacetime. Most likely, it would take him a very, very long time to succeed. Another reason was that he had coincidentally obtained the black sphere. Otherwise, even though he was just a step away from breaking through the bottleneck, it would still be normal for him to be stuck for 20 to 30,000 years. The black sphere's array diagram was incomparably profound, and it had given him many inspirations, allowing him to break through the bottleneck and create a new record. Who can create a miracle without a bit of luck? The calm Sea Prefecture master sighed in admiration. In the deity world, there are records of people becoming stage 1 world deities, stage 2 world deities, and even stage 4 world deities becoming powerful existences. Anyone who creates a new record is an amazing person. Once this news spreads, haha Dongbua, your name will probably spread throughout the entire deity world and Dark Abyss. Dongbua Shuiying and the calm Sea Prefecture master chatted for the time it took to brew a cup of tea. After that, the calm Sea Prefecture master left, though it was clear that he had become much closer to the Prefecture master. Anyone who could create a new record was simply too astonishing in the history of the deity world. In the past, world deity records were set by Monarch Green, Monarch Extermination, Manor Lord Feishue, and Temporal Island Lord. Only Monarch Extermination had gone insane and died prematurely. The weakest among them was Manor Lord Feishue, who was also at the level of the 3 ancestors. Now that Manor Lord Feishue's record had been broken by Dongbua Shuiying, everyone had to consider how far Dongbua Shuiying would go in the future. This was also the reason why Monarch Yong had spoken softly to Dongbua Shuiying. If Dongbua Shuiying was the only one who was stronger, Monarch Yong could have asked for reinforcements to attack him once more. However, Dongbua Shuiying had become a stage 3 world deity and created a new record in the deity world and Dark Abyss. Monarch Yong was afraid that even if he asked for reinforcements, he would not be able to do so. Monarch Yong was also not willing to offend Dongbua Shuiying too much. Phew. After parting ways with the Prefecture master, Dongbua Shuiying descended into the Supervisor Envoy's mansion. Disperse for now. Dongbua Shuiying did not pay any attention to General Mo, who had come over to flatter him, nor did he pay any attention to his subordinates. He only gave them a few instructions before descending into his own mansion. Next to a vast lake within the Supervisor Envoy's mansion, Dongbua Shuiying descended. He looked at a corridor not too far away where Jing Qiu, dressed in dark blue robes, was walking towards him. With a smile on her face she said, "Snow Eagle. Did you see the battle earlier?" Dongbo Shuiying asked with a smile. Jing Qiu seemed to be very happy. The entire residence is talking about it now. Dongbo Shuiying suddenly reached out and grabbed his wife's hand. Jing Qiu was taken aback. "Let's walk along the lakeside," Dongbo Shuiying said. Jing Qiu nodded lightly. As the couple walked along the lakeside, Dongbo Shuiying did not say a word. At this moment, his emotions were in a state of turmoil, and Jing Qiu could faintly sense it. Seeing a bird dive into the lake and pick up a fish with its beak, causing ripples to form on the surface of the lake, Dongbo Shuiying turned to look at his wife. "Jing Qiu, that silver-haired girl is you, right? You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."